Yeah, we're live. Hi, guys. Hey, Di. Good to see you.
Dramatic dash camera video shows the moment the BTS plane came crashing down in Louisville.
Real scene in Kentucky right now. A shelter. America is at the center of prophecy at this very moment. A plane crashes just seconds after takeoff in Kentucky. The massive cold arrives, burying New York under snow and ice. Hurricane force winds slam into Florida, tearing cities apart, flooding streets. Something is changing, as our father warned us a very long time
Diane, isn't America getting smashed with climate drama? It's just getting smashed all over the state, all over the country.
ago, and America is feeling it. Just moments after lifting off from Louisville, Kentucky, a cargo plane turned into a nightmare in the sky. Seconds after takeoff, flames erupted. The aircraft struggled to climb, reaching barely 50 meters before losing control and crashing less than 2 kilometers from the airport straight into an industrial area. What followed was not just an accident, but an explosion of fire and chaos. Eyewitnesses described the plane careening wing first, tearing across the ground and leaving behind a long trail of flames. Over 250,000 gallons of jet fuel ignited on impact,
Wow.
creating a wall of fire that swept through nearby streets and businesses. Entire blocks were engulfed. Firefighters rushed in from across the county. Roads were shut down, and authorities begged people to stay away, not to watch, not to gawk, but to let first responders fight the inferno and search for survivors. CCTV footage captured the violence of the crash. A truck driver half a mile away ran from his vehicle in shock, saying only one thing: there was a huge explosion. When disasters strike with such force and suddenness, it feels as if nature itself is crying out, reacting, pushing back, roaring louder than ever.
Hey, baby. Good to
Fires,
see you, mate.
storms, floods, earthquakes again and again. Creation seems to erupt with increasing intensity, as though something deep is out of balance. In Romans 8:22 it says, "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now, not screaming without meaning, but groaning, as if under pressure, as if something is coming." And in Luke 21:11, Jesus warned that there would be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and pestilences, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven, not to provoke fear.
Bobo, I know you're not a believer, but this is all down to God. This is down to God, all this stuff. And you're watching it in real time with us. What else could cause these storms all over America? Or all over the world, to be honest?
But to awaken awareness.
Today, but in other places, southern states, for example, people.
Yeah, Bobo, I'm
Massive
good,
winter
mate.
storm swept across the United States, from New York down to Mississippi, from New Mexico all the way to New England. The cold didn't just arrive, it took control. At least 29 people lost their lives. About 1 million homes and businesses were left without power. Nearly 200 million Americans found themselves under cold weather alerts, bracing against a system that refused to ease. Snow buried entire neighborhoods. Some towns disappeared under more than a foot of it, with reports of up to 16 inches in certain areas. Flights were canceled by the thousands. Roads turned into sheets of ice. Power lines snapped under the weight of snow and falling branches. In Mississippi and parts of Tennessee, freezing rain crushed garages, damaged homes, shattered windows, and plunged communities into darkness. Officials warned outages could last up to a week. Frigid temperatures became silent killers. The mayor's office confirmed at least 8 people were found dead outdoors in just a matter of days, the cold believed to be the cause. Authorities urged people to stay off the roads, schools shifted to virtual learning, and even a city built on motion slowed to a crawl. Fifth Avenue, usually alive with noise, was muted under snow. Manhattan dug itself out shovel by shovel, while Brooklyn's skyline stood frozen in white. Not spoken in words, but in force. Nature pressing back, creation reacting, almost as if the earth itself is groaning under a weight it can no longer quietly carry. Scripture once described this tension. In Job,
Go ahead, baby. Riddle me this.
"For to
Go
the
ahead,
snow," he
mate.
says, "fall on the earth, likewise to the downpour, his mighty downpour. Not chaos without control, but power beyond human command." The hurricane slammed into Florida with 155-mile-per-hour winds and 18-foot waves, intensifying into a near Category 5 storm just as it made landfall. Experts said this was the scenario they feared most, and within hours, those fears became reality. What unfolded looked less like a storm and more like a full-scale assault from the sky and sea. Entire neighborhoods were shredded, trees collapsed everywhere, cars were smashed together, then lifted and carried as floodwaters surged through streets. In some areas, water rose up to 3 feet inside buildings. A 9-foot storm surge swallowed homes so completely that survival, in many cases, was no longer possible. From space, Ian appeared as a massive swirling beast, lightning flashing inside its core like a living force. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The wind roared so loudly, it drowned out every other sound. In Naples, residents trapped in high-rise buildings watched their city disappear beneath.
I'm trying to line something else up. I can't seem to load it. Hang on, guys. I'll be with you in a minute.
Pools vanished. Streets turned into rivers.
All right.
Power failed. Florida's icons,
Got
Disney,
it.
Universal, Legoland, SeaWorld, shut down completely as the state braced under relentless impact. This was not just destruction. It was domination. Wind, water, and darkness moving with a force that human planning could not stop. And when scenes like this repeat fire, ice, floods, storms, it begins to feel like more than coincidence. Like creation itself is reacting, pressing back. In Psalm 107 to 25:29, there's a vivid description. "For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They reeled and staggered like drunken men. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress." The storm is not portrayed as random. It is powerful, purposeful, and beyond human control. And Nahum 1-3-4 reminds us, "The Lord has his way in the whirlwind and the storm. He rebukes the sea and makes it dry." These verses don't exist to scare, they exist to remind, to show that there are forces greater than us, and moments when nature stops cooperating and starts confronting.
Flares, maybe? No, there.
One night over San Diego, strange glowing objects appeared in the sky, bright, unfamiliar, and unsettling. They moved in ways people couldn't easily explain. Not like planes, not like helicopters. No familiar sound, no clear flight path, just light, suspended above the city. People wondered if it was military activity, a natural phenomenon, experimental
Wow.
technology. On the other hand, some believed that it was a UFO.
Yeah, Di, they just happened to find it in a Las Vegas home. Talking about gambling with life.
Scripture has always treated the sky as more than empty space. In Luke 21:25, Jesus.
Okay, I can come back to that, guys.
As if we were all just going to go away and they release them all flat. Hello everyone, good evening. I am delighted to have Charlie Robinson back. I've had to wait for something special to get my dear friend Charlie on. I've been waiting a while, and oh my goodness, it has arrived. The Epstein files are just reverberating around the planet right now, from Bill Gates surreptitiously wanting to drug his wife, Elon Musk gagging to go to the island, Prince Andrew on all
Guys, you know that lefty channel I talk about that I troll on Facebook? They're real quiet about the Epstein list. They were screaming for it, thinking Trump's going to be all over it. But he's not all over it because they would have used it before the election to keep him out. So it's all fake news. And the channel's been real quiet about that.
Always looking demonic over a woman on the floor. Fergie and Mendelssohn slobbering all over Jeffrey, begging to mooch more money and saying they don't give a rat's about his PDF file conviction. They love him anyway. Fergie wants to marry him, actually. Marry him. Prime ministers, presidents, royalty. They're all at it, folks. And Charlie Robinson in the octopus of global control.
That's Sarah Ferguson. What a grifter. I think Meghan Markle took some pages out of her book because she got caught just like Sarah Ferguson was caught.
Has been writing about this for decades, and he is totally vindicated, especially this weekend, that these demonic cult of Baal parasites have been outed. All of Charlie's links are in the description. His YouTube channel was zapped when mine was zapped. He didn't get his back until more recently, so please sub to Charlie as well. But man, it's good to see you, brother.
We've been doing this for like 6 years. We've been talking about this, and every time there's more for us to get into. I don't think people will really truly understand the depths of this guy. If you come for the lurid sex trafficking and the orgy island and all of that, because it's
They released 3 million documents related to the Epstein file. 3 million. Imagine how long it's going to be to go through all that.
it's interesting and it's tabloid-esque. Great. Whatever gets you here, I'm glad you're here. But if that's all that you think that Epstein is, you're missing a much deeper picture, a dark character, especially his work at Zorro Ranch, some of the things that he was plotting with the guys at Harvard. It's a very, very dark tale. Unfortunately, we have to cover it. I wish we were talking about unicorns and rainbows and something nice, but this is how it actually works. As you know, this is how control is maintained and power is wielded. It's very dark. It's not like people talk about it or show you in the movies. It's done through blackmail and extortion and the worst things that you can possibly dream up. These guys are deeply involved in it, have been for years. It's intergenerational. And this is the line of work that they're in. Much like somebody goes to work as a plumber, these guys go to work extorting the Goyim.
Charlie, I mean, there's so many files to go through. From what you've looked at so far, what have been the most surprising, shocking components for you?
Oh, boy, I've got several pages of notes here. I think what really catches you off guard is how they talk about the general public when they think that nobody is listening. And I really got my first taste of this with some of the declassified memos from Henry Kissinger back in 1974, National Security Council Memorandum 200, where he talks about the United States policy towards the third world as that of depopulation. And you go, oh my God, I can't believe they're actually putting this in writing. But then you realize, they didn't think anybody would see it, right? And maybe it's 50 years later and you read something that Kissinger put out and you see what a monster he was. But now you come across some of these emails from Epstein and the documents and everything. And once again, you're shown something that you're not supposed to be reading. You're not supposed to see this. You're not supposed to hear that this is the way they talk about the non-Jews that they interact with. And once you get a look at this, it paints a very different picture of Jewish supremacy, which is obvious. But that had always been hidden and deflected by the tones of anti-Semitism, and it seems like that has changed. That sort of given what's been going down in Israel and Gaza the last 3 years, the mood has changed. That people are starting to talk about things they weren't talking about before. And so when the timing of these files, comes out right now, in an environment where people feel a little bit more open to discuss this and have some criticisms of it, it's really damaging. It's damaging not just to Jeffrey Epstein, of course, and to anybody in his orbit, but it's also devastating to the state of Israel and Jewish people in general. Though I would like to also say that I know that he is not a representation of every Jewish person, right? Of course, we understand that, we know that, and everybody's got their own thoughts on this, but collectively, some of the things that he said and the way in which he said it and the things that he's done have painted that group in a very negative light. So it's an interesting time to be paying attention to this, and of course, the media would prefer that we weren't.
Indeed, and you hit on something really important there, because it's the media is concentrating on all of these famous people, and the criminal side of it can go so far, prosecuting people like Maxwell, Jean-Luc Brunel, etc. But above all that is this huge apparatus, and perhaps some of the apparatus has revealed itself. For example, with what we now know about Ehud Barak from
Millions and more pages, die. Wow, mate, they must have thoroughly done it.
the files and from Virginia's book, and from what I remember Nashi told me, I mean, if you look at Virginia's book, then she alleged that he came over and not only R-worded her and SA'd her, but was choking her almost to death, and this is what aroused him the most. And then she went to Jeffrey and said, "Here's what happened, I'm scared," and he said it's part of the
Bobo, that Adam's apple knows how to bite, so don't tease it.
job description, get on with it. And then if you put that in the context of what Ari Ben Menashe told us, former Israeli military intelligence, and this is when Ehud Barak was prime minister, basically they were using, for example, Prince Andrew, honey trap, leverage, Bill Clinton, honey trap, leverage, and they used Bill Clinton to scupper the deal with Yasser Arafat, the peace deal. So there's a diabolical incentive here for the apparatus to be doing these heinous things with kids, and the apparatus is protected, isn't it? If somebody gets sent down like Maxwell or Jean-Luc Brunel, or even if Clinton's getting...
No, I don't know what a K-Hart jacket is. But I actually like my jackets and coats.
Subpoenaed, and he's not going to say anything. He's such a diabolical Machiavellian liar. It's circus, isn't it, for the public? But the honey trap, the intelligence side of it is protected.
Yeah, this is how it operates. I mean, I think if people are unsure about the inner workings of the state, the royal family, and pedophile networks, they just look at the fact that when Prince Charles and Diana were having their problems, they brought in Jimmy Savile as the mediator, right? So if he's the answer, what is the question? When Jimmy Savile comes in to fix your problems, boy, we're on a whole another level here. And so I don't know that this should be surprising to too many people. This is the ultimate form of blackmail entrapment. It used to be that maybe in the old days you could get a guy who was cheating on his wife and you'd have the goods on him, or maybe he was a closeted homosexual and he didn't want anybody to know because that would ruin his career, or it was socially unacceptable at the time. Well, those things have expiration dates. You divorce your wife, you come out of the closet, now what, right? No sense diffusing the bomb after it's already gone off. But when it's pedophilia and more,
Charlie, we're going to say PDF files. That's what we're going to
PDF
call
files. When you're talking about those sorts of things, it doesn't have an expiration date. It's not only illegal forever, it's immoral forever, and so they have you forever. And so if you are foolish enough or demented enough or arrogant enough to walk into these traps, you become part of the game. You are a fly that has flown into the spider's web, and now you are trapped. And you have to make some calculations. Do you want to stay alive? Because if you want to stay alive, you may have to compromise your morals. You may have to pretend like you're okay with all of this. You may have to do something that you don't want to do, right? So now all of a sudden, these guys. So it's easy, as you mentioned, it's easy to point the finger at Brunel and Epstein and Maxwell and say these are monsters, people. But what about all the scientists that just happened to walk into this trap? What are the guys that were going to the edge dinners or fun with physics on the island with Al Seckel? I mean, what about them? Like, they didn't know what they were doing. Maybe they did. Maybe they learned. But most of these guys are just thrilled that somebody wants to talk physics with them, and some billionaire guy's gonna float them out there and have them on this in this amazing retreat where they can talk about science and be around like-minded people, right? So who am I talking about? I'm talking about guys like Sam Harris, Noah Yuval Harari, Nick Bostrom, Marvin Minsky, seen there, Martin Nowak, Brett Weinstein, Eric Weinstein, Michael Wolff, the writer, Noam Chomsky.
Diane, I've learned that you're better off paying for a good brand than a crappy brand, especially the electronics.
Steve Richard Dawkins was there, Ari Emanuel, Eric Lander, Obama's chief science czar, Steven Pinker, Brian Eno, and Peter Gabriel were at these edge dinners, right? So are we to think that Peter Gabriel and Brian Eno are involved in something dark and nefarious? I have no evidence of that, right? As far as I know, they're just a bunch of guys who are interested in music and technology and went to some cool dinner. But, over time, a lot of the guys on this list have proven to be a little bit more than that. Some of the, I don't know, his friend Murray Gell-Mann, the physicist, Cass Sunstein was there, Anne Wojcicki, probably, whose family is involved in 23andMe and Google. There's a lot of Jimmy Wales from.
Baby, I'm not going to ask what you were doing when you were wearing leather. I'm not going to ask that question.
Wikipedia, when you want to make sure that there's nothing written about Epstein that paints him in a negative light, when you want to get him listed as an American businessman and philanthropist, you make a call to Al Seckel, Epstein's.
Diane, it's actually with everything, isn't it? When you got a bit of money and you can afford to look a bit different, you pay a little bit extra, but you get 10 times better quality.
Essentially brother-in-law, one of the Maxwell sisters' husbands, right, who's planning fun with physics. He makes a call to Jimmy Wales, reminds him he was there, and they need to edit the Wikipedia entry, and then the Wikipedia entry gets edited and blocked so that nobody can re-edit it. So there's this going on too. Now, you're dealing with a spider. You're getting yourself caught in a spider web here. If you're any of these guys and you're going to the island or you're going to dinners and things like that, plausible deniability at a dinner in New York City or in Northern California with a.
Diane, I first got in the shoes because that's what you done when you're a young bloke getting in trouble. You got in your shoes and your tracksuits and that. But the shoes I used to get weren't Nike or anything. They were Diodora, and they were Italian, and they were really high quality, really good looking shoe for a little bit dearer than a Nike.
Bunch of other tech guys. I give them that, right? You can maybe say, I didn't know what I was getting into. I was pretty honored to be a part of this, or I was doing it for business networking reasons, but I didn't, But when you're going to
be honest, I've always been a good dresser. I don't mean around the house. If I'm going out, I know how to dress nice because I like dressing up.
The island for fun with physics for a couple of days, and you see what goes on there. You're no longer. I don't know how many innocent. It may have been done against your will. You may be in a situation you wish you weren't in, but you're in it at that point, and your name winds up in these files. And then people have to talk about you.
Baby, we got a few spying because our 3 here, and there's 6 watching. Hi guys watching.
That's it. You don't get to shrug your shoulders and go, "Oh, I didn't know." No, people knew. I mean, this guy was out. in 2008, and you guys are having dinner with him in 2014, and you're going, I don't know. No. You're taking money from him, and you don't know that he's has these convictions. I mean, so, and it's not just anybody, too. It's not just some the people that were showing up at this Edge Foundation, Paul Allen, Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, those are the two founders of Google. Bill Gates, Marissa Mayer, CEO of Google, of Yahoo, Yuri Milner, who's sprinkling money all over the place, Nathan Myhrvold, one of the top 3 guys, founders of Microsoft.
Hey guys, did you see Don Lemon, that fake news guy who got the sack from his fake news job? You see him and his cronies stormed the church 2 days ago? They actually stormed the church. What a bunch of cowards. I bet they wouldn't storm a mosque.
Sean.
I hate how Christians are always targets because they don't hit back. I'm not the turn the other cheek type guy. I will hit back.
Parker was there. First president of Facebook. Ev Williams. First president of Twitter. Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, see, so we've got all the social media guys covered here. Elon Musk was there. Steve Case from AOL was there. They're all there, right? They all have an interaction with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, how deep that goes,
Bobo, you look damn good.
I think that's going to have to be person by person specific in terms of what they got into. But these guys are there, and the email that goes around in the files that says that Marina Abramovich was doing her, what it said, that says, quote, don't miss this. I know you're all busy. Get unbusy, because you have to be at the dinner to see Maria Abramovich. And we know what she's up to, right? So again, like, I'm pretty flexible, and I'm willing to kind of listen to somebody's explanation about the dinners. But
NBA team leads at the half. Celebrate early with Neds. Back in NBA team to win, and if they're up 12 plus points at halftime, you win. Available on head-to-head bets on any NBA ESPN game this week. What's gambling really costing you?
Nothing, I don't gamble.
Katie gets a whole range of features that make her business easier to run. She's got plenty of time for...
It's one thing I never got into. I like to drink and I like my drugs, but I just didn't get into gambling.
new hobbies.
I played cards here and there, but not full-on gambling.
Now that she's saving 5 hours a week on tax admin.
Still frequently changing glasses? This German high-tech adaptive focus can handle both distance.
But when you're bringing in these performance artists that have a long track record of doing stuff like this, and you don't excuse yourself to the bathroom or to the valet parking, then, you know, I don't know. Maybe you have to answer the questions.
So
You're complicit.
I'm asking you when Musk took over X, could we trust him and stuff? And Trump came in and signed all these executive orders, and he was really popular. But it seems that Trump, when he promised to release the files and didn't release them, and then said it was a Democratic hoax, and just come up with a lot of BS. Remember that time when they had all those binders they released as if we were all just going to go away, and they released them all claptrap. And they've fought tooth and nail, it seems, to protect the files, not release the files. So what's it like in America right now, Charlie? How do people feel about Trump and Musk in light of the Epstein files?
Well, Musk comes across as kind of pathetic in the Epstein files, to be honest with you. He's kind of begging to get on the island, and Ghislaine saying, like, party season's over. Jeffrey saying we'll send a helicopter. Ghislaine saying party season's over. He has interactions through these dinners. The tone here in America in terms of how people are feeling about this, it's very difficult for Donald Trump to distance himself from this. And of course, the dishonest media is trying to paint this as like Republican only type of thing, right? And it never, Republicans are in the Epstein files, but the Democrats aren't, right? This, of course, as we know, is preposterous. This stretches across party lines. This is the one thing they're all in agreement on is extremely bad behavior in places where they think that it's not going to be brought out. So I think that the tone, It's been a 1-2 punch for the state of Israel. The perception of the state of Israel inside America, which is deeply tied to the perception of Trump. So they've had a bad time, as we've mentioned, for the last 3 years. This is now like the second blow to them, given how tight he is. We're starting to watch some very pathetic attempts by the mainstream media to tie him to KGB, tie Epstein to the KGB and to Putin, and we're like, please, just, you're embarrassing yourself. Stop. But this has been it's not good for Trump, and there's been a real problem with his base. The people in the middle have always felt like,
Yeah, baby, he's in England. Don't give him a hard time, mate.
hey,
I actually like Sean Atwood.
you Trump supporting people, it would be great if you could at least just be a tiny bit objective and say, could we agree that you like what he's doing, but not the way he's doing it, in terms of like domestic policy and things like that? And for the longest time, they were just, no, it was just,
No, Di, I'm not rude. That's the funniest thing you said, mate.
you have to support everything he does. It's Trump or bust. You have to trust the plan. You guys don't understand. He's a complicated genius who we don't. That has shifted. That has changed. We're not hearing much of anything in the way of support from the conservatives. They're having a hard time supporting this. This is disgusting behavior, and it's of course they're not jumping ship to the Democratic Party. It's nothing like that. It's not. It's only to say the conservatives have a moral line typically. I can't say that with the loony left. I feel like their moral line is written in invisible ink, if anything. But the conservatives tend to have a bit of conviction about stuff. This crosses the line. This is unacceptable behavior. The president of the United States should not be interacting with people like this. Of course, we know that this is the reason he's in the position that he's in. You don't rise to these positions of power without being controllable. But for the normies out there who have this perception that there's still supposed to be some dignity left in the office, and they didn't lose their faith in Trump after watching, 5+ years of him behaving with a determined lack of dignity. But this seems...
He drowned off a yacht, didn't he, Bobo?
...to be the line that they just can't get over. And I don't blame them. Because, and I'm glad that they're finally standing up about this. And of course, you can't speak on behalf of everybody, right? And we're just talking about trends here, but this is the right thing to be up in arms about. Like, you cannot allow this relationship with Epstein stand, and all the people in the government where you see a lot of familiar names in these in these files from people that I think normies thought were good guys, and now they're having to understand that this Epstein guy was everywhere. He was even in your crypto, unfortunately, for a lot of people. This has been a tough revelation. That's one thing that I will say that has happened. It's been really eye-opening for a lot of people to see the depths of what Epstein was into. I think they mistakenly perceived him as being just some guy who was facilitating brownstone operations in New York and in the islands, and they don't know much about his transhumanism work. And they certainly don't know about the sciences. Now they're learning about how deeply involved he was with the Bitcoin community and with crypto in general. And I think that's freaking people out too.
So you made a lot of important points there. Even the Daily Mail here are linking Epstein to working for Putin. It is preposterous, and it just shows how desperate the elites are. If you look at the countries he did work for, for example, when Epstein visited the White House dozens of times during Clinton's presidency, and Mark Middleton was one of the intermediaries. My research has led me to believe that he was dealing with China and Israel. They were selling nuclear codes. They were selling technology to China. They had less Lexus, planes, transporting technology to China, etc. I didn't hear about Russia anywhere except for like with property deals. You got these oligarch Russian gangsters dealing with Trump, things like that when they were doing property deals. But in the bigger picture of selling our information, our codes, our technology to foreign governments, it was China and Israel is what I read. But no, now they're blaming Putin. You know, I burnt my toast. Putin did it. It's that kind of a thing, isn't it?
Well, the irony is that Hillary Clinton, through Uranium One and Frank Justra, was actually dealing with Russia, was actually selling energy to the enemy, the so-called enemy. So it's always a case of accuse your enemy of that which you yourself are guilty of, to muddy the water and create confusion. That's what they're doing. And of course, the Clintons are fantastic at doing that. And so yes, they will say this is those dirty Russians out there. Like we know who it is. I mean, Russia is geographically kind of close to China, so that's close enough for them. That's all that matters.
So the Clintons have agreed to give some testimony. Now, if you put Fergie, for example, and Prince Andrew on the stand, these low IQ mooches would end up with life sentences because they're so dumb. But if you put Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton on the stand, I mean, these Machiavellian, manipulative people, we have seen them time and time again, just stone-faced, cold liars. These words just come out of their mouths and they look so authentic. I don't think they're going to slip up in the slightest when they're under questioning. Do you, Charlie?
Oh no, but it'll be fun to watch. As you mentioned, they are professional sociopathic liars. They know exactly how to wiggle their way out of the. I mean, they're lawyers too. So on top of that, they know that words mean different things, and sometimes what you say in a courtroom or under oath means something different. So they know where all the trapdoors are. But you mentioned Sarah Ferguson, though. Fergus. Interesting that you mentioned her because she's the damsel in distress, according to the media, right? Her horrible pedophilic husband, who's just a monster, right? We have to keep our eyes on him. But what's interesting about Fergie that nobody talks about is that she started a charity, a children's charity of all things. You want to know who she started it with? Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary. This was years ago. This was a quarter century ago. And Anthony Wallersteiner from the Stowe School.
Wow.
And it was a children's charity. And she housed her
Wow, letting her near kids. Wow, that's dangerous for the kids.
the American address for it was housed in the World Trade Center, next to the same offices that Howard.
That's Michelle Obama's the man.
Would go to work every morning as well. But what's interesting is neither of them showed up for work that day. The building was destroyed. In the aftermath of this, they found a doll. They found a stuffed animal that was from Fergie's charity. Never mind the explosion, the charges, the controlled demolition, the rubble, the justification of it, all that. Miraculously, a stuffed animal from the 89th floor where her office was made it. And the fire department presented it to her as a sign of miracles. And so I want people to recognize that she's no victim. She's in it. She's in it with them. You don't start children's charities with these people and then children go missing and you go, whoops, don't know. So she's no damsel in distress, I assure you.
Yeah, she's a big damsel in distress, professional mooch, low IQ. She's going around saying, I run up all these hotel bills, I spent all this money on clothes, flying around first class. 1 minute she's got a book deal, 1 minute she's got a weight loss deal, next minute she's on the edge of bankruptcy. But Jeffrey has given her this pipeline of money to save her from herself, and she wants to marry him because of this. She's run out of schemes such as monetizing the royal family name, trying to sell access to Prince Andrew. She got stung by the media here for doing that, run out the country with her reputation. And this woman, oh my goodness, when you read that she's pretending to care about the survivors because she had a book deal coming out. Sick.
With Whoop, gain insights into how you train, sleep, and recover.
It's important for people to recognize that this is who you're dealing with. Sometimes you get these mask off moments where you say, wow, I had you all wrong. You know, I thought you were something else. And now I find that you're one of them. There's a lot of that. There's been a lot of that, an unmasking happening. There's a lot of people realizing that you know, their inner thoughts are being distributed here. There's an email. I've talked about Epstein's role with Harvard, Martin Nowak, evolutionary dynamics, population game theory. I think this is the most interesting component of what Epstein was doing, and that's saying something because he was into a lot of things. He's messaging with Martin Nowak at Harvard, who has distanced themselves from this guy, but he's kind of bad. I think they put him on suspension or something like that for a year or two, but didn't throw him out of the office. I don't think they gave back $30 million. This is an email from Martin Nowak to Epstein. Quote, "Our spy was captured after completing her mission." Epstein's response back to him, "Did you torture her?" Monday, March 10th, 2014. So, you know, you don't get if that's me and my buddies and we're texting back and forth and it's some sort of wonky inside joke that's one thing. I don't give the benefit of the doubt to Jeffrey Epstein in an email like that. He may have been joking, but you know, I just don't give the benefit of the doubt. Not after what we know about them. So I think that if the lurid TMZ-esque, you know, Daily Mail stories of Jeffrey Epstein got you in here, you're just beginning. There's so much more to know. There's the Southern Air Transport component of this and what he was doing with Les Wexner and these airplanes. And you and I have done extensive work on this about the airplanes. The unusual airplanes, the Lolita Express. I'll refresh it just in case people are interested in this because people are thinking,
Charlie, we've got a lot of listeners who would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, good. You might be asking yourself, why would a guy who's got all this money be flying around in a 1972 flying Toyota Camry, essentially? AKA the Lolita Express. It's a 727 jet. And well, the answer is he has a Gulfstream 4 and he has a Gulfstream 3 as well, and he has a helicopter. And the helicopter he got from DynCorp, and that helicopter was being used in the Balkans back in 2000s to traffic kids, which is not great. But he's got that helicopter anyway. The reason why he has the Lolita Express flying airplane is not just because it's big, and it is big. Pilots will tell you that it is a little bit like having, here in the United States, it'd be like a Toyota Camry. The parts, a lot of parts will work on it. It's easy to maintain. It's a big plane, but surprisingly cheap to maintain. And a lot of people have them. Donald Trump had one. Jeffrey Nygaard had one. But, you know, they could afford whatever they wanted. Again, why would you buy a 50-year-old plane? Well, I'll tell you why. There's an interesting design feature.
I accidentally bumped the remote.
Feature to the 727. TWA used to use these. They have a rear deploying staircase.
Hey, Andrew, good to see you, mate.
Could exit from either side of the airplane. Pretty convenient, right? The reason why they designed these was to fly into small and medium-sized airports that didn't have the sort of infrastructure to bring the jetway up there. So you can just kind of park this thing wherever, and you've got your own staircase built in, right? You can take everybody out through the butt of the airplane. You can also do something else with this, which is unusual. When you are flying this airplane, provided that you are below 10,000 feet, you can also deploy the rear staircase during flight. You can essentially lower you can open the back door. You can open the trunk of the airplane while you're flying. And that allows you to do a lot of things. Throw things out. This is what the CIA used these airplanes for during the Air America era, where they were flying cocaine in, right? You can throw big bales of cocaine with parachutes out of the back of that thing real easily. You can also throw a lot of problems out of the back of that thing as well. And I would suspect that that's on his international flights. I would suspect that a lot of the problems were taken care of on the Lolita Express. Though that is pure speculation on my part, to be crystal clear. I just wouldn't put that past him when you've got a plane that allows you to do things like that. That's the reason why they had these planes. And a few people had them, and that's an interesting component of it. So when you and of course it was wired up with cameras and a water bed in the back or whatever, it was all that, right? It's easy to rig that up, but the rear staircase is the most intriguing component.
All right, folks, we're halfway through our interview with Charlie Robinson. We've got a Charlie Kirk guest coming in 30 minutes, and Charlie's YouTube channel was zapped. When mine was zapped, he's back. We've got 3,500 watching live right now across all the platforms. So I'm going to put his link in the live chat. So please support Charlie's important work. He's also written books. The Octopus of Global Control is one of my favorites, exposing the Clintons and Halliburton and Dick Cheney. Mind-blowing. I listened to the audiobook. So all of Charlie's links are in the description box, and he's got his own podcast as well. He's got some great guests. He's sent guests to us, MK Ultra, etc. over the years. Phenomenal work. And if you've got any questions for Charlie, put them in the live chat right now. We're live until 1:30, and we'll try and get those questions to him. And when it comes to looking at the bigger picture, it was, Southern Air Transport, American Airlines. These were the airlines that the intelligence agencies were using to bring up the kilos of the white from South America, the Pablo Escobar powder. And it was arms to the south, Nicaragua, the Contras. It was off the books. Oliver North, Felix Rodriguez. Oliver North even kept in his diaries about the kilos of the white, the records of it. And then the Clintons provided the state security for the drug drops and parlayed that into the White House by playing ball with the Bush crime family. So there's a huge, bigger picture here that Epstein was a small part of. He was brought into the fold by Robert Maxwell, according to Ari Ben-Beneshi, not when the mainstream media say he met Ghislaine. That was later. And Ghislaine was already in the fold under Captain Bob after he swindled all that pension money. And yes, we write it. There are tentacles of this all over the world, and Charlie's been researching this for decades, and he breaks it down in an excellent way. So, where would you like to go next, Charlie? What have you got in your notes there?
Well, I found some pretty poor behavior from Hollywood publicist Peggy Siegel. Nothing.
Yeah.
Asking about, I'll say that the subject headline of the email was called Yacht.
So they still haven't got into the hospital yet. That's pretty bad.
Slut. If
It's been 4 or 5 days, hasn't it?
that gives you any indication of the email, it's probably a pretty good subject headline if you ask me. Is it going to be 100% Jew tonight? Even Perlman on Yum Yum has some goyim. Epstein's response: no, goyim in abundance. J.P. Morgan execs brilliant wasps. So hey, listen, threw a little compliment their way. So it's explaining getting the lay of the land for what the party scene is going to be like on the boat. Is it going to be just our people, or are we going to have other people? Do we have to behave? Do we have to not behave? So you're seeing some of that, of course. I'll tell you one thing that I thought was really weird, and there may be nothing to it, but Woody Allen's daughter, former adopted daughter, but he married, which was sketchy to begin with. But Soon Yi, remember?
Yeah, Diane, that's pretty serious that you need 3 hospitals to sort this out. We got a teaching hospital in a few suburbs in Sydney and a couple of suburbs out here. And if you get a teaching hospital, you get in a lot quicker.
She's in email conversations back and forth with Epstein, talking about that they're buying one.
We got 2 medical lists. 1, they need urgent care. And 2, I'm not sure about 2.
Lottery tickets. And then Epstein and saying that they would split the lottery if they won it, they'd split it with him, kind of joking. And then Zorro Trust goes on and wins the Oklahoma Power Lottery the day before he goes into prison. They win a $41.3 million lottery in Oklahoma. Zorro Trust. Yeah, they showed that normally they do a television broadcast of it, but they claim there was a computer malfunction that preempted the television broadcast, so they didn't hold it normally. And a company called Zorro Trust won the lottery, and they chose to take the lump sum payment of $41.3 million, which after taxes worked out to just about $30 million. And it seems that Epstein won. The Zorro Trust won the lottery one day after Epstein began his prison sentence in Palm Beach.
More for the trip of a lifetime or a new?
If that's true, that means they manipulate the lottos where he got no hope of winning. And it might sound naive, but I didn't think they had that much power.
Car, go greater with a Greater Bank personal loan.
See what everyone's jumping on with Ned's popular same-game multi. Check out markets other punters are backing across Aussie and US sports. Find a trending same-game multi-bet, copy it instantly, then change legs or hit place bet with Ned's.
What's gambling really costing you?
My parents are very happy lately. I bought them a pair of smart Zoom reading glasses. They no longer need...
Andrew, you're British, aren't you?
Free as well? Is it some kind of money washing mechanism?
I'm sure he had it in an unincorporated non-profit association.
England had one of the best health systems in the world. I don't think it's like that now in England. It's gotten a lot run down. I think we got the best system in the world now.
Yeah, he was running it through something like that, and where there was a. So I think they were using this as a slush fund, the Zorro Trust.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to ask questions about if whether or not the lottery in America is on the up and up, because when Jeffrey Epstein's people are talking about buying lottery tickets, and then his company winds up magically winning the lottery, and there's some questions about that. Well, I mean, I think that would warrant an investigation.
Well, the mafia hasn't been known to rig it. Sammy the Bull even won the lottery at one point.
Yeah, he's an extremely lucky guy, though, as you know. Very, very easy. Oh my God. I'll tell you something that I saw in here that was neither good nor bad, but just kind of interesting in a secret society kind of way. They talk about something called the Zodiac Club. Never heard of it before. Only 12 members are allowed to be in it. You serve until you die, and then you get replaced. And this email was from somebody messaging asking about Murray Gell-Mann, who's a Nobel Prize winner, asking if he thought that he would be a candidate to join this group. And during this back and forth, Epstein admits that he doesn't know who all the members are of this club, but he mentions the guy who's emailing with is a guy named Bob Pyrie, who I guess is in it. He mentions some other guy named Howdy, but he does mention Paul Volcker former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker, and Tom Brokaw, former NBC News nightly news for, I don't know, 3 decades in my childhood. I watched Tom Brokaw forever. So an interesting little thing. I don't know what they're up to. Like I said, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but that was something that's a new rabbit hole for people that want to go down. Zodiac Club.
Wow.
He said that they're also old in it, that they really just kind of get together in cool places for interesting dinners. Probably in bed by 8 o'clock. I don't know, but just something to.
What about this club called the Cult of Baal? Because Epstein, it's come out in the files, has a bank account called Baal, Baal, and I think he was getting money transferred from JP Morgan to Baal. If you look at the definition, it's an ancient religion that was into human and animal sacrifice.
Kind of appropriate then that JP Morgan would be involved in it. Yeah. Yeah, these people are dark. They are, when Alex Jones snuck into Bohemian Grove and the cremation of Care video, and they're burning an owl effigy, and people watch that. That's crazy. Does it make a little bit more sense now? I mean, these people are into that. That's their thing. I don't even know if religious is the right word to use, but there is a spiritual component to this. Maybe it's Luciferianism, maybe it's Sabbatean Frankism, maybe it's Chabad Lubavitch, maybe it's a combination of all of this. Maybe that Venn diagram interlocks with all, right? But there is a secret society that runs things, and the entrance to that club is pretty steep. Price of admission, pretty substantial. You don't get in there accidentally. Of course, you're pulling up the images from Eyes Wide Shut. We know that there's questions about the making of that movie, what was left on the cutting room floor, and that might have been a expose on what's going on in the background. So, of course, that famous scene was filmed in a Rothschild castle. So not helping the conspiracy theorists there when you go and film it in a Rothschild castle, but
That's crazy, man. Right, I think I've been hogging you long enough. Let me go into some of the questions.
Sure.
Trevor, do you think Trump will go after formerly Prince Andrew and make him give evidence re Epstein?
That's a good question, actually, because I could see Trump doing that if for no other reason than just purely deflecting away from him, and to put that onto somebody else. I don't know what sort of jurisdiction issues that would raise with sovereign rights and things like that. That would be an interesting one. I'll tell you what, I could see Trump talking about it, but never doing anything about it.
Yeah, create a headline out of it and deflect from himself. Yeah. All right, so question from Alicia. Could this massive file drop be distracting the masses from anything?
100%. In fact, anytime something like this happens, you almost have to be looking around to ask the question, is this a limited hangout? This is from one email address, essentially. JEE Vacations. What's JEE Business? Is there a business one? Are there multiple accounts? I mean, this guy had to have had more than one email accounts, right? So is this, it's painted quite a few people in a bad light.
Yeah, Andrew, we were robbing a dealer and he had a 22 and he aimed it at me. And it was either charging me, get the gun off him, or turn me back and get shot in the back. So I charged him. By the time I got to him, he got me 3 times. And as I'm wrestling the gun off him, he had the barrel right under my chin. I just pulled it away as he let the barrel off. So I ended up getting shot 5 times. My left lung collapsed. I nearly had to wear a colostomy bag the rest of my life. So it was pretty heavy. That's drugs. Drugs do that, guys.
Hey, but sometimes that is a lie by omission. Who wasn't mentioned in here? I didn't see Netanyahu's name a lot. I mean, maybe it's in here, but maybe that got sanitized a little bit. Maybe they picked a couple names out of there that didn't really.
And Andrew, I got 8 years jail for it. I done 3.5 years.
Fit with the narrative, but but I would. I would. This is going to be one of these stories that doesn't end this week. It's tempting to want it to be off of the news cycle, but I think that because of the depth of all the information that's there, people are going to be drawing connections from this for a while. This is going to take a little time to digest, and so I would invite people to follow.
Andrew, I've had a lot of close shaves with death, and I didn't realise it, but God was watching my back. I shouldn't. When he had the gun under my chin, he should have shot me then. But something made me pull my head away, and it wasn't me, and it just went off. So I think I've been watched as well, like half protected.
Follow this story continuously because I think that there's going to be some revelations. I think that's a temptation for the media to, if this comes out, the media is denying that it even exists.
Diane, look how many jobs are lost in the last month. Probably that we know of, probably 250,000. There's going to be more. There's going to be no food in America because there's no one to work the farms and all that because they're all got sacked. This is getting really dangerous for you guys, for us by extension.
Right, but let everybody get kind of burnt out on it and wear themselves out and then move on to something else, and then you drop the real juicy stuff. I could envision a scenario where that happens too, where there's additional information to come out. Now, this may be, we saw text and we saw a couple pictures. We know there's videos. So allow me to speculate here, but what if the conversation went like this between the group that controls the information and Donald Trump? You were supposed to take care of that country that's causing us problems and bomb them to smithereens, and you haven't done that. And so phase one is we release the 3 million documents, right? We allow that to come out. And then if you fail to live up to your mission, which is to use the United States military to take care of that problem in the Middle East, then phase two will be the videos. I could see that, right? So I don't know that this is, I have heard nobody say that this is everything. I would suspect that this is.
I don't think the videos would shock anyone anymore. There's so much out there that's wrong. I don't think it'd shock anyone. Same as when they find out Michelle Obama's a guy. It'll shock them that he's a guy, but it won't shock their moral standards.
A portion. And that of course things are being withheld. What that is, who only knows.
So if you're getting asked now about Richard Branson, what are your thoughts on Branson with his own airline and island? I've been reading interesting things about his mother's involvement with charities and eugenics, allegedly.
I remember reading his autobiography.
Andrew, I was just thinking I might switch to Tony because I usually use the last hour for that sort of the updates. Yeah, we've just about heard all we can from this. Well picked up, Andrew. Right. What did I say? Oh, this is going to be good, yeah. Okay, something different. This is from Tony, guys.
And some have attributed Gilgamesh to being Nimrod from the Old Testament, who created the Tower of Babel. So you got Nimrod, you got Gilgamesh. Are they one and the same person? I personally believe they are. I've covered it before, how the original burial site, according to the Epic of Gilgamesh, was near the Euphrates River. However, there are others who've said that his remains were moved from that burial chamber near the Euphrates River and brought to Egypt, to the Great Pyramid, and buried between the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, as there was a chamber found there as well. And so some are thinking that it's one and the same person. And we covered this before. Rob Skiba back in the old days covered it as well. So, and I actually didn't have any of that pulled up, but I've shown it before on video if you follow my channel for a while. But we got so much stuff to get into. Actually, here are some photos of when they were in Iraq. What is this here? The tomb of Gilgamesh has been opened. The blood of kings has been harvested. Resurrection protocol has begun. Beneath the so chessboard lies a far older game, one played with entities who do not believe, whose thrones are not of this earth. Yeah, this guy's just kind of talking, waxing poetic or something here. We got here a picture of one of these soldiers, and we got another one right here as well. Babylon, ancient Babylonian artwork in stone. That's interesting. What in the world? Some of the ancient pottery as well. Saddam Hussein, back then, so many years ago. And as I mentioned, I actually interviewed a soldier about this stuff way back when. It was at least 10 years ago, I think, at this point. I had on at the time, it was a live stream. I had on also a call for, an uprising. That guy was on there. There's a Canadian guy. I'm trying to remember his name. He died. I can't remember his name for some reason. I'm just terrible with names. I can't remember his name for some reason off the top of my head. I'll probably remember it later. He used to be a big YouTuber as well. Even Moist Critical had him on his show one time back in the old days. I remember that as well. And I had a number of other people on as well. I think I had on Run to Christ. Was he on there? I think he was. He's one of the old channels from the old days too. I don't think I had Ron Center Zion. I don't think so. But anyway, I had a bunch of people on. We were talking about stuff. We were talking about the games we were going to develop. And back then, we weren't working on Noah VR back then. We were working on something else. But eventually, we started working on Noah VR a few years back. But as you can see here, we got some weird stuff with regards to the new files that came out. Here you have Candace Owens talking about it. A week before the invasion into Iraq, Hillmeister was emailing about the location of the tomb of Gilgamesh. It has long been suspected the epic Gilgamesh is a biblical story of Nimrod.
Come on.
Nimrod built the Tower of Babel. He rebelled against God, led people towards a worldly empire. You may not believe in God, but you ought to know that the elites will certainly do. And they're at war with him and his people. All of this is real right now. You can choose to follow the satanic and their money, or you can choose to follow God. And there's also apocryphal literature talking about Nimrod and the things they were trying to do. They were trying to do something 100% spiritual against God when they built the Tower of Babel. I remember one of the apocryphal texts talks about it. It wasn't just simply a building. They were literally going to go fight God. That was the entire point of what they were trying to do. And I think they were trying to make a dimensional portal, because some of these apocryphal and supernatural texts talk about.
What are you doing?
You know how they talk in some of these movies, like Ant-Man, they talk about there being multiple worlds, multiple dimensions. The word I'm looking for is multiverse. You saw that with Ant-Man, where it talks about there being multiple different worlds. In reality, I believe what's going on here is we've been living under the devil's timeline for 500 years, and it ended last year. And now we're starting to see it crack, it break. This timeline, its deceptive nature is cracking, it's breaking. If you ever saw the Twilight Zone, the intro to the Twilight Zone, some of the words that it says in it, let me go find that real quick and show you what I'm talking about. Twilight Zone. Okay, intro words. There you go. Okay, here you go. How about the whole thing, dude? Here it is. There is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition. It lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of the imagination. It is an area we call the Twilight Zone. Now, think about this. It says it's a dimension as vast, as timeless as infinity. I thought they mentioned something about a mirror. They showed a mirror. What was that about a mirror? It says something about a mirror or shows a mirror. Okay, in this moment, we look deep into the mirror and see the aftermath of a rebellion.
Hey, Talia, good to see you.
That's a story. So it shows a mirror like as if it's a dimension in the intro as part of the actual video they show in the beginning of it. So it's like a looking glass, right? The dimension can be shattered, just like your perception of yourself can be shattered. And what you see around you can all of a sudden become clear. What I'm saying is our reality is partly a result of how we think and what we believe. So if everybody around you thinks and believes wrongly, then your society is going to be backwards and weird and bad. If everyone is corrupt, as you see at the top, while at the same time pretending they are not, then you get these files that got dumped on us, and you learn that, oh, that was a complete lie. George Bush Sr. was not this great person that went to church, that would never swear or do anything wrong. No, actually, in reality, he would do rituals on a yacht, apparently, according to one of these files. Well, again, we don't know. This is alleged. He had a scimitar. He did some really weird stuff, of course, cutting, things. Or I think you can imagine what it is. It's something very bad. Let's just put it that way. So you realize that your reality is a lie. It's kind of like The Matrix, the TV show or the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, where you realize everything around you is a lie, right? So what I'm saying is for the last 500 years, the devil has been trying to craft our reality. And he does that through making us believe wrongly. And if we were actually in the little season that it talks about in Revelation, where the devil goes forth to deceive all the nations, then it would make sense that you wouldn't know what up is, or up is down, or down, or left is right. You know what I mean? You would think completely backwards about everything. Perhaps all, even things like history, perhaps, even in some cases, you would have it completely backwards, right? And we're seeing some of that now coming out with regards to these files. Right?
Yeah.
They told us that we're crazy.
Andrew, he's going around just barking at things now like he's seen a ghost. But one good thing, we put a ramp up on the bed because my bed's a high one. And now he walks up the ramp. So it took us a couple of weeks to get him to do that.
Need to think some of these things, but then we find out we were actually right the whole time. My research.
He's turned into a bit of a star, young Busby.
Did an article talking about this simulation we're living in. And I believe the devil was trying to sort of control the outcome up to, and it was doing quite well up to about 2012.
Hey, I was good to see you.
They weren't able to do it anymore. Apparently, God's timeline started to manifest or started to break the devil's timeline. So this comes back to what I've talked about before regarding these 500-year Ona timeframes. And I've talked about this numerous times before. You had the Book of Esther. And in the Book of Esther, the last chapter was removed and put in the Apocrypha. It's called Mordecai's Dream, where he saw two dragons fighting, vying for power over the entire world. One was a good dragon, one was an evil dragon. Everyone, whenever they hear the word dragon, they just assume something evil, because you have the red dragon in Revelation. But in reality, God even represents himself as...
I saw a video this morning. They're in this river. It looked like the Amazon or something. And there was it looked like a giant eagle body-wise. It was probably about 15 feet long. And I'm not joking, it had the head of a dragon. It was a dragon. There's no doubt about it. So I think it's a natural animal. We just haven't seen it, or that particular species of it.
It's a dragon.
Which is weird. The dragons are starting to show up.
He breathes fire from his nostrils in Psalms. And there's other parts of Psalms and Proverbs where, I think it's Psalms, where it has verses that make it very clear that God represents himself as a dragon in some cases. You even have the serpent on the pole that Moses held, which was actually a dragon, not a serpent. A dragon on a pole, which would be God representing himself as a dragon. Jesus said, I'll be lifted up on a cross like the serpent on the pole that Moses showed to heal everybody, right? So God represents himself as a good dragon symbolically, and the devil as a red evil dragon symbolically. And you see this playing out in the book of Esther, the last chapter, these two vying for power over the world based on us. How are we perceiving? Are we evil in our minds? Are we good? Is the sort of the scales tilting towards God or the devil this 500 years? Are people so far off track they don't know what up and down is anymore? So what we had is during the time of the book of Esther, she was integral in moving them from the red dragon time frame to the white dragon. So that was around what was that? 1,000. Brain's on a blanket. No, 500 BC. So 1,000 BC to 500 BC was a red dragon timeline. Esther moved it from the red dragon timeline to the white dragon for 500 years, from 500 BC to 0 AD. That was the white dragon time frame. Jesus was born during the white dragon time frame, but then when he turned 3 years old, they entered the red dragon time frame. So 0 AD to 500 AD was the red dragon time. And you can see it in the New Testament because it says the God of this world is the devil in the New Testament. But in reality, what it's saying is the God, small g, of this age. The word world is age. They didn't translate it very well. It's the word aeonos, which is where we get the word eon from. This age, the devil's the God of this age, 0 AD to 500 AD. Then you had a white dragon age, or the millennial kingdom for the Middle Ages. 500 AD to 1500 AD was the millennial kingdom, or two white dragon ages. Even King Arthur had a dream about this, and Merlin perceived the meaning of the dream as a red dragon versus a white dragon, and the white dragon won. And so then we entered into a red dragon age from 1500.
I never thought about that, Diane. They can't kick off Discord. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, not really. I wonder why.
Until now, we've been in a red dragon age. That's the devil's timeline, where evil is essentially corrupt and reigning. And this is why we find these people who pretend to be good, running the world, and then you find out, nope.
Such as trannies?
No, they're not. We got a file dump at the exact time of us moving into the white dragon age, which means they're going to be removed. These evil people have been exposed. And I went through all of them in my other video. We had Billy Boy Gates, lots of people. Actually, it's kind of weird and funny that he actually kicked Jeffrey off Xbox Live in retaliation for not doing something for him. So it's just kind of weird, but he got kicked off. Xbox Live is video games. So apparently Jeffrey loved playing video games a lot. He played World of Warcraft. He played Call of Duty. He played a bunch of games. And Bill Gates was with too many Russian women, and he contracted something, and he wanted to trick his wife by giving her an antibiotic without her knowing, so she wouldn't know that he was doing this stuff. But Jeffrey refused to give him anything, and Bill got mad at him and kicked him off Xbox Live. This is literally what it says in the email. It's
That's interesting that Billy Gates tried to do that for his wife. You wouldn't think it was a loving partnership, would you? If it hurt her, she must, yeah.
So stupid sounding, but it shows you how these people function, right? Then you got stuff like this, really crazy stuff, an accusation against George Bush Sr. being with under, of course, age. Not just that, but also doing other things with, a scimitar. Okay, like crazy stuff, rituals. Okay, I don't even want to get into it so bad. You get the idea, though. Then you got this here. This is one of the files about Gilgamesh. All right, written to Jeffrey. A striking, accurate way to measure human aging through epigenetic signatures. And it says here, as a teenager in Germany, Steve Horvath, his identical twin Marcus, and his friend Georg formed the Gilgamesh Project, which involved regular meetings where they three discussed mathematics, physics, and philosophy. The inspiration for the name Horvath claims, which says, was the ancient Sumerian epic in which the king of Uruk searches for a plant that can restore youth. And this is interesting because if you read the Genesis Apocryphon from the Dead Sea Scrolls, it talks about how this king, Gilgamesh, or Nimrod, goes to Noah, asking how he can restore his youth, how he can live forever. So, Gilgamesh first goes to Noah.
Okay, I thought Iraq, I thought that the Gulf War was because they wanted to get Nimrod's body. Apparently they had the tomb of Nimrod, and that's why they went to war to get it. If that's true, this DNA from these things must be really powerful that people go to war against it for it.
And ask him, how did you get in contact with the God, the top God, to get eternal life? And Noah apparently explained it to him, but Gilgamesh didn't like what he said. He didn't like it. He was like, oh, I don't want to do that. So then he went to find his own way of restoring his own youth. He tried to search for a plant that would restore his youth. He also tried to build a tower to fight God because he couldn't get what he wanted the way he wanted it. Right? And this kind of embodies these people at the top wanting eternal life without following the true God. They just want it anyways. It's the same attitude. And this comes back to the resurrection chamber. The final meeting in 1989, the trio made a solemn pact to dedicate their careers to pursuing science that could prolong healthy human life. Georg set his eye on computer science and artificial intelligence, Marcus on biochemistry and genetics. Steve says he planned to use mathematical modeling and gene networks to understand how to extend life. So that's why you're hearing about these AI systems working on DNA to extend life now. Right? That's what's going on right now. You also had that email of the Hillmeister from 10 years ago about the chamber, Gilgamesh chamber. Another interesting thing that was found in these files, Jeffrey's bank account name was Baal. That's kind of weird. You can see right here. Well, this is a really blurry one. It says it right here, actually, Baal. I had one that was much clearer earlier. I don't know why that has such a blurry one. I showed it on my other video. Maybe I have it here. Yeah, here it is. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. This is the same thing. Let me show you this one. You can see it right here. That was his bank name. Kind of weird. Fits in with this whole thing, though, don't it? You have here Osmongold talking about this. Now, like I said, we were talking about this back 10 years ago. We covered all this stuff way back when. And it's interesting because I'm one of the few that's still left from way back when. You remember all the stuff that happened back then, right?
No, there's a lot to, like, y'all don't understand. Like, I don't talk about this stuff a lot, but y'all think I spent 25 years on the internet for nothing? Y'all think I've just been looking at porn the whole time? No, only half the time. Not evil, just powerful. Well, it's Lightbringer, right? There's the Lucius Trust, Luciferianism, and then again, like, it goes into, like, the fucking, the dollar bill and everything. This is like
yeah, so we all covered this. You probably watched our videos back then. We were making those videos back then. That's maybe what Osman was watching was us back then. And that's when these people at the top got mad, is because we were talking about that way back in 2015, 2016. And then they came out saying, oh, we can't allow this type of information anymore on the platform. It's not real. And then we find out it is real, actually. Matter of fact, it's not us saying it. It's literally them saying it. We got the FBI saying it. We got literally a Roth, of course, child saying it. Literally saying it. She's writing emails to Jeffrey talking about stuff like this. Like saying it's true. And it's like, not the Gilgamesh, but other things related that we talked about in those days. All the stuff we were talking about is like now being, oh, you're just crazy. You're just making this stuff up. No, actually, no. Apparently, you guys were talking about it too. And you were saying it was real. That's why you didn't like us talking about it. It's because you already knew it was real and you were talking about it. We were just figuring it out early. And now you dump it all on our lap and show it all to us and stuff that we were talking about literally 10 years ago here on YouTube. Right? Oh, yeah. So here we go. Remember that whole Gilgamesh project? This was nice. The lead story from our new chapter. Thought you would appreciate it. Let's see here. I got like a million different views. It'll take me. It's time to make human, chimp hybrids. Oh, really? See if I can get it on the screen better down here. Richard Dawkins. This is Richard Dawkins. Okay. Richard Dawkins leads our lead.
Who now identifies as a cultural Christian. Whatever that means.
Oh, yeah, here we are. The human needs, both scientifically possible and morally defensible. Really? It's morally defensible? I don't think so. It's a bit of a stretch, but by no means impossible or even unlikely that a hybrid combining a human and, of course, a chimpanzee could be produced in a laboratory. Hereditary behind the gene. This has something to do with Richard Dawkins. It is. Oh, it's in the subject line. Okay. Subject line, Richard Dawkins. Okay, that's kind of weird. Your brain needs to forget in order to grow. We called them fairy rocks. What is he talking about? This is like weird. Genes encode all the hereditable features of living things. Has been a fundamental tenet of genetics, evolutionary biology for many years. Hopefully, this assumption has always coexisted comfortably with the messy findings of empirical research. Check this out. So this is Candace Owens. Despite best efforts to destroy the ancient world in the Middle East, relics still remain to reveal the truth. The Star of David has always been associated with the Canaanites, apparently, in Baal worship, which is interesting because we had Jeffrey's bank account called Baal, right? That's kind of weird. Crowley and all of his occult friends who used to utilize the symbol for ceremonial magic. Symbols quite literally all over his books. He's not, a Jew. Wake up. So you can see here the Star of David in this ancient building, this ancient historic, what would you call this? Ancient land site, of Canaanites. And editor, I'm going to get into more of this on a new video.
Don't eat breakfast before watching this.
This is April. April is 60 years old and used to have something called an April.
AJ, thank you for doing this. Thanks for having me. You've become huge for a good reason. You want to hear my macro explanation for your success? Honesty is always the first, that's always, and
okay. Let me just check it out.
Some of the attributed Gilgamesh to being Nimrod from the Old Testament, who created the Tower of Babel. So you got Nimrod, you got Gilgamesh. Are they one and the same person? I personally believe they are. I've covered it before, how the original The insanity only continues, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. Got so many things as usual to get into. We got Kathy Griffin. What she had to say, pretty crazy. We're going to get into that. We got Batman coming to council meetings now. We got another one of Nick's drops, Nick Shirley. We're going to get into that. We got Beyonce, Tom Hanks, just a ton of stuff to get into. Obviously, those files, we're finding out lots of things on them. We're going to get into all that, much more in this video. Let's just get going here. Let's start with this here. One man that you're definitely not going to see in these files is Mel Gibson. We actually had a number of people talking on X about those who are not listed. Charlie Sheen being one of them. Mel Gibson, obviously, another. There's actually even, there's a lot of people that have been listed by various people on there. And we have, of course, Roseanne Barr, Kanye West, Keanu Reeves, and many others as well. Not listed. Of course, these people have been outspoken as well. Roseanne's been outspoken at various times. Kanye, over the years, and Mel Gibson, Keanu Reeves obviously being quiet about such things. But it is kind of amazing. He recently was talking about running in California. Perhaps he's actually talking about doing it. Mel Gibson referring to, it would be awesome if he did. Some people have been talking about him a lot ever since these came out, because he was right. He was calling this and was 100% right. Look at this. This is hilarious. They all hate our president. They all leave the country. You had Jay-Z just leave. You have Obama preparing to leave. You have Ellen DeGeneres leave. You have Beyonce and Kim Kardashian take a little bit of a different approach. They just tend to only go into blue states. Seems to be a good modus operandi for them, seeing the blue states are not exactly liking our president and are actually working directly against him in many cases. Remember, of course, he said in the past, this, we've covered on the channel. Hollywood is an institutionalized and PDF, of course, ring. It is a den of parasites who feast on the blood. Yes, indeed. Every studio in Hollywood is brought and paid for with this. He's been known to say things like this in the past. And now we're starting to see the truth come out as a result of this. And you remember also that whole thing of him being pulled over and then having to apologize for what he said. That was like, is that 15 years ago, 20 years ago at this point? Probably 20, right? Kind of weird what he said and how it sort of relates to this as well. Man, dude. Looking pretty Chad here. What the heck? Is that him? Damn, bro. I'm wondering if this is a fake photo. That's got to be fake, man. He looks too good of shape there. At any rate, just wanted to cover this well. And this goes into something I've talked about before, how those that are part of this island, those that are part of this whole system, they are sort of a parasitic force, a global-minded force in our world. They take apart nations, all right? Instead of promoting the best interest of the nation that they're in, they actually destabilize and weaken it, open, of course, the borders, and bring in all manner of things that are not good, drugs, whatever, to that country. Remove its own energy resources. You see this in Germany. You saw that with America as well, where we essentially stopped drilling for oil in Alaska. That is their sort of modus operandi. Here you have Mel Gibson talking about how it was in the old days with Malta and these battles in these times in the past. And this is how nations actually functioned, where they were seeking out their own best interest, sometimes expanding, sometimes trying to, build up coalitions around you, like you see with our president, with Greenland, with Venezuela. Now, of course, he's going after Cuba. The entire point is to secure the entire North American continent, right? Check this out.
Also working on a TV limited series about the Siege of Malta, which is an incredible story. And there's only one place to film that. I mean, in Malta, because that's where it happened, at these fortresses, where 700 knights defended Malta against an onslaught from the Turkish. And Suleiman sent 40,000 men and ships, and wow, the knights won. Also working.
So this is, of course, also another factor where entire nations are built around religions. They tell us America can't be Christian, you can't do this, it's wrong. In reality, that is exactly diametrically opposed to our founders. And we had to deal with things like Islam and other forces coming in from other countries. And this is what he's talking about here. Kathy Griffin telling liberals to identify their neighbors. Which ones are MAGA? Let's just check this out and see what she has to say.
Wait, let's see what's going on. What do you think the solution is? I think the murder of Renee Good, the murder of Alex Preddy, putting children on planes and taking them to detention centers, which are really concentration camps. Call it what it is. They're concentration camps in the United States of America in 2026. So take that in, and I know you don't want to participate in something radical. I don't either. I wish I could just go on the road and do my funny stories about celebrities or making fun of
You're living in a fantasy world.
politicians, but not even have to acknowledge this. But it is happening all around you. It's happening around you. I live in Los Angeles. It's happening at targeted places in Los Angeles. And I think it's time to talk to the neighbors in real life. It's time to talk to your neighbors.
She's wearing a wig. Did you see that footage of her with her hair right back? She looked like a scarecrow clown.
Find out if they're mad or not.
Oh my goodness, dude. Obviously, our former president Obama had more
Find out
of
if
them
they're MAGA or not.
in these quote-unquote cages, actually, not cages, but for deportation than our current president Trump. She doesn't happen to know that little fact, does she? Two different people. We already know all about this. Renee Good literally hit the man, hit the ICE agent. He actually had internal bleeding. With Peretti, we're not sure exactly what happened there, but it might have been his actual sidearm went off, from what we could tell in the footage. Obviously, the guy was not some sort of saint, as they're trying to make him out to be. What is she talking about? Like, what is she talking about, right? Absolutely clueless. And this right here kind of makes it even clearer. We have leftists are paid and get caught packing up all their equipment, highly organized. This proves what we were saying, that they had their massive chat on Telegram where they were synchronizing the entire thing. All right, check this out. Let's play this real quick.
If you've ever wondered how protests happen on the spot, this is exactly how. Without organizers, without the music, without the bullhorns, without all of these people coming together. Right now what they're doing is they're loading their trucks to leave out of here after they finish with the protest. None of the protests that you see that happen immediately after something happens, which is all the time now, wouldn't be possible. What's behind me is a combination of Party for Socialism and Liberation. We have Democrat Socialists of America here as well, and a couple very
Socialism. These are socialist groups, highly organized, causing this agitation, these protester agitation in various cities across America. Looks kind of similar to something we saw 100 years ago in another country where they took over the country. You know what I mean? Like, almost looks kind of like these revolutions we've seen in the past. Like they're trying to get going with this whole thing. We had Batman at a council meeting, very upset that ICE is in his town.
I don't want you to sit back and watch. I want you to fucking do something. We don't like to show off.
We should never be so vulgar as to make a fuss.
But Red Box has gotten bigger, better, no way, and prettier than ever.
You can't be serious.
That's impossible.
All new exclusive mysteries, dramas, documentaries, and comedies.
Remarkable.
more ways to watch. No big deal. More of your favorites. Streaming.
Still frequently changing glasses? This German high-tech adaptive focus can handle both distance and near vision with one pair.
Each and every one of these people who came up has been very polite, very earnest, very kind, pleading you, begging you to do something. I'm not begging you, I'm fucking demanding that you act with some semblance of a fucking spine. Do something.
Thank you.
This, of course, just lends to the whole theory that a lot of these people are cosplay and are not really living in the real world. At any rate, of course, we had here local photographer surrounded, car vandalized, windows smashed as violent anti-ICE rioters clash with police for second night in LA. Now they're in LA. There's only I think there was 5 or 6 cities in the entire United States where you had a 500 times the chance of there being cars being vandalized, these agitators showing up, causing trouble. Only 5 cities. Chicago was one of them. Minneapolis was one of them. LA was one. I think there's 2 or 3 in California. There's 3 on the East Coast, 3 on the West Coast, pretty much. And that's where all the stuff is happening. Anyway, we're going to get into a ton of stuff. Nick Shirley landing in LA. Now he's going through California looking for learning centers there, and he found some. We'll get into that. We got what's going on with these files. We got our president with Cuba. We got some crazy stuff with regards to all these celebrities, including the Hillmeister, and much more. First, I got to mention Food Supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth, plus $400 of winter preparedness gear, $798. Link is in the description for that. Comes with an indoor space heater, water filtration, matches, canned heat, and everything else that you would need in the wintertime, plus the food. Go check it out. This book here, The Lost Way, so you create your grandfather lived without electricity, had a better cellar, do things around that house as you would do in the old days. 100 pages illustrated. You're going to definitely need that before the zombie apocalypse right there.
Osby, come on.
We're already seeing it around us. These phones are not helping. The virus is spreading everywhere. You definitely want to be prepared for whatever's next. Go check it out.
It's coming next.
By the way, please come over to Twitter. Please come over to X, whatever you want to call it.
What do you mean I drink pills? I don't take pills, mate.
We're now starting to make some traction over there, getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views. Unfortunately, I think a lot of my subscribers are not over there. I would say probably one.
Bobo, I drink beer because I enjoy a beer and I enjoy the buzz I get off it. I don't like being drunk. I can't remember how long it's been since I've been actually drunk. But I drink a 6-pack and that's a good enough buzz for me.
100th of you guys are actually over there. No joke. 1/100. That's probably being a little extra. 1/100th of you guys. Just all I'm asking, pause the video, click link below, go to my X, subscribe over there, follow, give a follow. I would hope I can just tell based on how things are performing. I need to get at least 3, 4, 5% of you guys over there so we can get this thing really going. Link is in the description. Let's get back to this. So we have here Nick Shirley in California investigating daycares again. All right, so let's just check out this learning center here, this daycare here at a residential address. So apparently it's not just Minnesota, my friends. We also have California doing the exact same thing.
It's Nick Shirley, our state, guys. Look. You don't care. This is my daycare. You don't care. It's 9 o'clock in Minnesota. You come here. It's 9.
Didn't that turn into super rort? Them kids in, where was it? Minnesota? Is that where it happened?
It's Nick Shirley,
Oh my goodness, she can't even speak English very well. She has a pretty big accent there. And where are the children? Who cares? It's not your problem. All right, go away, Nick Shirley from Minneapolis or whatever you're from, right? So, yeah, she couldn't speak English too well, could she? And apparently no children there. What a surprise. We have here also apparently our president now trying to cut off all oil supply to Cuba. And this is pretty interesting because you're seeing him working particularly to make this dome possible. We have him.
I got to admit, I'm not big on Cuba.
Putting tariffs on Canada right now. He just reversed something, and because they're trying to fight us. Carney there in Canada was not allowing certain products to be sold in his country, and we basically, it's tit for tat. We basically did it back to them. Okay, we reversed something and then put a huge tariff on them. So we have Carney working directly against us because clearly he's not all about Canada. He's not all about America. It's very obvious that he's all about that forum, those at the top that are in these back rooms, global-minded billionaires who have islands and weird stuff happening on islands, right? By the way, there's a new island. I'm going to talk about that, I guess, in this video as well. There's a new island. Yes, there is. There's a new island. You won't believe who owns it. We'll get into that as well. But, yeah, so apparently our president is trying to essentially get all of North America and even some of South America on on our team, essentially.
Tell you, in jail you can make alcohol, and how you do it, say you get like 2 dozen oranges, you get it all together, you get a big bucket or something to hold it all, squash the oranges up and put the pulp in it as well. And if it's warm over outside, within 3 days it would have fermented, and it really gets you drunk, but it really gives you a bad hangover. But that's how you make a jail brew. Oranges and water. Anything with sugar in it, really.
They're under our umbrella or working with us so that we can have full protection over all of these territories. This is why he's going after Greenland. This is why he did what he did in Venezuela. Now he's cutting off oil to Cuba because, of course, they were working with the Russians. And last year, some nuclear sub went to Cuba, dropped something off. We talked about, was it a year ago? Year and a half ago. But the fact is,
the sugar's why the hangovers. Okay, that makes sense.
Now we're cutting off.
It's like drinking paint stripper Digi. It's rough. With a 1 litre cordial bottle, that can get you drunk.
The sale of oil to Cuba, which apparently comes from Mexico. We're telling Mexico to get on board with us and be on team North America, right? Not team Russia. So at any rate, so that's what's going on with that. And oh my goodness, I'm going to get into all these insane stories over on my other channel with regards to the files, right? So I'm going to talk about that over on my main channel, God Rules.
When I was in Cessnock, that's a medium class jail, when I was there Friday nights, I'd do a brew all week, and on Friday night I'd crack it open and we'd sit down and watch the footy. Well, there's another crew that they used to get pot in. So they'd give me like $20 worth of pot, and I'd give them $20 worth of alcohol, and Friday night was party night. It's good fun even though we're in jail, because you don't get locked up till 10 o'clock in Cessnock.
In more detail, I'm going to talk about it a little bit here, though. But we got some crazy stuff being discovered in these files. We got Jay-Z and Beyonce. We have Jay-Z trying to leave the country now. Yeah. We had Obama leaving the country, or actually, well, technically, he set up a new mansion in the UK, moved over.
Andrew, we're worse than the Irish at drinking, I'm telling you. We got a huge drinking culture here.
A lot of his, his wealth.
And I didn't drink until I got off methadone in 2014. I didn't drink up until then.
I'm trying to think of the right word. Wealth, what do you want to say? Money and stuff like that over to the UK. We talked about that like a couple months ago. Apparently, Jay-Z now is moving as well and left the U.S. And I'm going to get into what's going on with the Hillmeister, Beyonce, and all that over my other channel. And it's kind of interesting, actually. We got some weird stuff that was discovered in her emails.
Beyonce's lost 10 million subscribers since the Epstein files come out.
We'll get into that.
I hope she loses everything.
Over my other channel as well. But the fact is, we have Tom Hanks as well. I'll get into it on my other channel. I'm going to kind of skip that right now. I'm going to get into a lot of that over there. I mentioned about, and by the way, you should be apologizing to your conspiracy friend, okay? I was one of those guys. Matter of fact, probably a lot of you guys are the same. You're probably the conspiracy guy, right? You told everybody about all this stuff. They're like, you're crazy. You're nuts. You were telling them about it 10 years ago. That's why you follow me. It's because we were talking about it 10 years ago on this channel. And they're like, you're nuts. You're crazy for believing any of this stuff. And you end up being right. 100% right. Things we were talking about 10 years ago. Proven correct. 100% proven correct. Right? That's 100% the case. With all the insanity, I'm going to get into all that over on my other channel. We got... I'm going to skip all these things. I don't want to get into any of that stuff.
We've been following Tony about 6 months. I didn't know of him before.
It's a lot. Oh my goodness, there's a lot. I'm skipping all around. I told you about there's a new island. Yeah, there is. Apparently there's a new island. This is kind of interesting. I really hope it's not 2.0. I hope it's just, he's just got an island and he's doing nothing on it. I just hope that's what it is. But I got a funny feeling that may or may not be the case. I'm kind of 50-50 on that at this point. This guy who owns all the social media, he just recently gobbled up a bunch of them. We're talking about TikTok, right? I actually used to think better of this guy, Oracle founder. I used to like the company Oracle. I thought it was a pretty cool company. I used to think good of this guy, but now I'm starting to think, what the hell's going on here? The dude's got an...
Sites, she's lost 10 million subscribers. It's probably YouTube.
Better way to put it. I was hoping he was...
I didn't watch it because you only need to see the headline. You know it's coming after it.
But I don't know what to think now. I'm kind of thinking maybe not. Maybe not at all, actually.
Busby!
Maybe not at all.
Busby!
I mean,
give me a buddy.
More highly of Bill Gates. I remember making a video on my business channel like 2012 where I talked about his interesting business strategy with IBM and how it was brilliant. But unfortunately, as you can see, the guy is no good, right? 100% terrible, horrible. Matter of fact, I got something right here. Let me just show you this. This kind of sums it up right here. Right here.
Flight Centre's UK and Europe sale is on. Hurry, ends 1 March. Flight Centre, your centre for travel. Level up on course.
The latest third-generation silicone dental aligners, developed by St. Thomas Hospital, address the global issue of poor dental.
Sociopath. Criminal. I used to actually think higher of the guy back in like 2010, 2011, 2012. I started hearing a little bit back then, but I was like, oh, come on, man. It can't be true. It can't be true. He can't be that bad. But then around 2015, 14, 15, that's when I realized he was bad.
Good boy. Good boy.
Yeah.
Come here, mate.
Never finished college. That's because he's like, it was kind of like Michael Dell. It's kind of like, but then again, you have to ask yourself, is this just, it's a kind of coincidental that people like Zuckerberg, Michael Dell, and Bill Gates all never finished college and became billionaires. It is a little strange, right? Like you think about it and you're like, who's the other guy? There's another guy as well that did that. He owns a basketball team. Mark Cuban. He did it as well, right? Like you start to wonder if maybe these guys were just given a silver spoon because they had connections rather than just being super smart and skipped college and just had success, right? He's not an engineer, not a doctor, none of these things, but he owns all these things and he's controlling all these things. It's kind of weird, right? Yeah, not a good guy at all. And I used to think it was really interesting his business strategy he did with IBM. I thought it was just like he's sort of had a genius moment there. Maybe he is really smart, but maybe he's also not good. It's kind of like, criminals. Criminals can be very smart and very evil at the same time. I guess that's possible is what's going on there. Maybe he is smart but bad at the same time, which is probably the case. No surprise. Of course, we have all these posts on X of people saying, hey, this guy wasn't in the list. That guy didn't go to the island. And it's like so pathetic that like, hey, this actor's not on there. Hey, this guy didn't show up on the list. It's so pathetic that you have to point out the ones that didn't go. That's how bad it is, right? Of course, Mel Gibson's not on the list, right? Of course, Kanye wasn't there. You had Charlie Sheen. He wasn't there. I tweeted about that over my X account. It's got like 15,000 views already. Charlie Sheen didn't go there, even though you would think he'd probably be one of the first to go there because of the way he looks, right? You look at the guy, he's like, that dude had a lot of issues. Drugs, women, everything. But he never went. Ironically, Hunter never went. Hunter Biden never went. Of course, he also is the same way. Drugs, drinking, women.
They probably wouldn't want Hunter Biden with him. All his trouble.
He was already there in his own mind, I guess, and maybe not, because the island's way worse. But he was into all those vices, as you would call them. But what the island was way more than vices. It was way, way worse. Way worse, so I can't compare it. I mean, honestly, you look like a saint. Charlie Sheen looks like a saint compared to some of these people that went there, right? You even had Diddy say that I didn't go there. My name isn't even there, and I'm the one that's locked up, right? You had the squirrel get locked up. We had a squirrel literally get locked up. So you got more squirrels getting arrested than people that are actually on the list at this point. You got people locked up. They're pretty bad, but you wonder if maybe it was worse on that, of course, island. I think it probably was. This guy was definitely bad as well. So probably doing the exact same thing, just on his level, right? Sort of the Hollywood side of it. And the other, Jeffrey, was more of the international side of it. You got here Nicki Minaj. I mean, it's so bizarre, the people that I'm now looking up to, or I don't know if I'd say looking up to, but like, I don't think looking up to is the right word. Like cheering on, maybe cheering on, like you're actually saying something good. You're actually doing something good in this world. The people that you would think are the least likely to do something good or would be sort of like the saint or whatever you want to call it. Nicki Minaj, Charlie Sheen, really? Like, Jelly Roll. I mean, I'm going to show you a clip from Jelly Roll in a second here. It's hilariously ridiculous. I mean, even Blair White, which is a tranny on the right, saying things that make more sense than most people. Like, I was listening to Jeremy Boring. That guy's like head of the Daily Wire, and he's like,
I actually like Charlie Sheen. Remember a couple of years ago when he went off track? That was a lesson in how not to take drugs, wasn't it?
Crazy.
He ended up getting HIV out of that.
Sounding. The stuff he's saying is complete garbage. He says if you question anything in the past, you question us nuking Japan, you're a conspiracy theorist. You question anything, you're one of them, right? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? Of course I'm going to question all those things. We questioned those things a decade ago, 15 years ago we were questioning them, right? It's insane. And people that you would never expect are making more sense than the people that are supposedly good. The pastors are falling, and then you got people that are considered sinners that are doing better. It's kind of like, it reminds me of Jesus walking around with his followers in the
Charlie Sheen's like a dumb Russell Brand. If you ask me, they're very similar in the way they are. But Russell Brand's a lot smarter.
Like you got the Pharisees who claim to be the religious, righteous people, and they're like the horrible people. And the people that were one-time tax collectors and prostitutes following Jesus are the good people. That's what it is today. It's the same thing. You got Nicki Minaj here. Your favorite artist has been practicing rituals. We're talking satanic. And I don't even want to read all this, but it's basically true. I mean, literally, we had a story in those emails of George Bush Sr. doing this stuff. And he was the epitome of it back in the 90s. He had the nice suit on, never said a swear word, looked like a nice guy, looked like somebody who was trustworthy, acted like a Christian, right? But he was the farthest from it. Probably was more like Aleister Crowley going to the capstone ceremony at the Great Pyramid, planning it like 10 years in advance, by the way. Remember, Crowley went to the Great Pyramid to talk to some spirits. You got George Bush apparently doing the same weird stuff. And, you know, they look like they're righteous on the outside, like the Pharisee, but they're full of dead man's bones, as Jesus said, right? And then you got the people that look bad on the outside, but they're in their inside, they're good. They're actually better people than those who claim to be religious.
No, this is one of my favorite
quotes.
quotes.
Talking about how they're worshiping and serving Satan for their money while pretending to be good people. He said,
it's one of my favorite quotes,
you must constantly shed blood, however the jig is up. She likes using this child's play thing all the time, which is kind of weird, but okay. It's like weird, dude. What the hell? At least she says good stuff, right? You got here Jelly Roll accepting his award at, what was it, the Golden Globes or whatever? I think it was the Golden Globes.
Grammys.
And what he said about Jesus, check this out. This is crazy. This guy, all he did was,
oh man.
Optical. Physio. 8 weeks free health insurance. Worth it. Useful for all you do.
Bobo, it's great in winter.
Search Australian Unity Health Insurance.
I can't believe I'm never going to see you again.
I can't believe IGA has handy ultra paper towels double length for just $5.25.
Unbelievable prices. Now at your local IGA. You understand how massive this is going to be?
All he did was he made music about all the troubles he was going through. He had a hard upbringing. You know, his family wasn't exactly fully functional, let's put it that way. I think his mom was on drugs or something, if I remember. I can't remember exactly what it all was, but it was kind of, I listened to an interview of him, and I already forgot kind of what it was, but it was like not a good situation, let's put it that way. At any rate, of course, he, you know, in his music he puts out, he was like talking about all the struggles and everything, went very viral because of it, talking about God and all this, and this guy never proclaimed that he was some sort of saint at all.
Let me try to get this out. First of all, Jesus, I hear you and I'm listening, Lord. I am listening, Lord. Second of all, I want to thank my beautiful wife. I would have never changed my life without you. I'd have ended up dead or in jail. I'd have killed myself if it wasn't for you and Jesus. I thank you for that. I thank you for my label, Broken Bow. Country Radio, baby. What's up, y'all? Oh, Republic, John McNeely, we did it, baby. There was a time in my life, y'all, that I was broken. That's why I wrote this album. I didn't think I had a chance, y'all. There was days that I thought the darkest thing.
What was your first clue, mate? The tattoos on your face?
I was a horrible human. There was a moment in my life that all I had was a Bible this big and a radio the same size and a 6x8 foot cell. And I believed that
Actually, I shouldn't crack jokes.
those two things could change my life. I believe that music had the power to change my life, and God had the power to change my life. And I want to tell y'all right now, Jesus is for everybody. Jesus is not owned by one political party. Jesus is not owned by no music label. Jesus is Jesus, and anybody can have a relationship with him. I love you, Lord.
Diane, that's where I got mine from, Amazon. $300, which is about 200 US.
So, of course, that was Reba McEntire at the end there, standing up. But it's kind of interesting. He lost a ton of weight too, man. He lost a ton of weight. And I mean, that's good, man. Good stuff. It's kind of moving, actually. And I mean, it's so pathetic looking at this whole set of cache of emails. It's so much disappointment. You know, if you were expecting to find like a better situation in the world, no, we were right 10 years ago when we were talking about all that stuff. Remember the whole comet thing? You remember that? We were talking about it back then. You remember the whole the wiki, you know, emails and all that? We were talking about that. What was that, 2015, I think, for that one. And the comment was like, I don't remember. What was that, 2018 or something? I don't remember when that was, 19? Whatever that was. We were talking about it back then. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You're insane. Oh,
pre-2016, because Trump got into power then, and I was disappointed he didn't pardon Assange, because he used Assange WikiLeaks to help get him in power. Then he was in power, he left WikiLeaks with it.
really? Oh, it looks like we were correct the entire time. Oh, that's so funny, isn't it? Literally these...
That's over in 2 seconds, guys.
No more expensive orthodontic treatments or dental implants. This full mouth, bone-supported denture kit solves all your dental problems.
Up into something not as bad, right? This is kind of my theory as to what's going on with this whole thing. Looks like they're now starting to leave the country, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got a lot of people to talk about in this video. We got Jay-Z. Yes, indeed. He's
good day, Phil. How are you, mate?
We got a ton of other stuff to get into. We got who's not on the list. We got also Beyonce. We got Don Lemon. We got a bazillion other things to get into. Some other interesting things found in these, emails. We got crazy takes, Andrew Tate and others. Let's just get into this. We got more than that, actually. That's like only half the stuff. There's like even more Zoran and Diddy and all these other things. All right, let's just get into this. All right, we have here Jay-Z. Major outlets like Pop Base, CBS, TMZ, and blah, blah, blah have stayed silent on Jay-Z being mentioned in the files while amplifying other names, selectively covering isn't journalism. If you're tired of propaganda and gaps, unfollow them. And it's interesting because we see this on other channels as well. I mean, honestly, with some channels, you would think only our president is on the list. And literally, that's it. He's the one. That's it. Oh my God, he takes up the whole list. Now, literally, there's like a couple entries. The one entry that everyone's focusing on right now was literally made when someone called in. I think it was called in and did an interview in 2025. 2020. Think about that. He's already been president once. He just won again. And someone's like, I think something happened to me from this guy. And conveniently, of course, on that whole thing, all his entourage, Elon Musk and everybody else, Ivanka, all of them are in the room. And they're all participating as well. It's almost like a fake post, It's almost like a fake interview. Probably is, actually. But there is something weird about our president with regards to this, though. He didn't want him released, although at first he did, right? There is something going on here. I'm not going to let him off the hook. We're not going to let him off the hook at all. Because I don't think he went there, but I get this feeling maybe some friends or business partners or family or whatever got caught up in this. And he doesn't want them to get in trouble. This is my thinking on it. And he might consider what they did not as bad as some of these other people who did very bad things there. But the fact is, if you're a criminal, you're a criminal. You need to pay the penalty. You don't let off a bunch of other really bad criminals because a couple of your friends got caught up into something not as bad, right? This is kind of my theory as to what's going on with this whole thing. I could be wrong. But I highly doubt he's completely and utterly innocent in every way, shape, and form, because if he was, he wouldn't be blocking it. He would be kind of more so like Elon and just said, release it all, right? So there's something weird going on with there. But we have here Jay-Z leaving the country to an undisclosed destination. He's gone full Diddy. Yes, indeed. We had also Obama, what was that, like a couple months ago, going over to the UK, moving. Apparently, he bought a very huge mansion over there, moving a lot of his wealth over there, even meeting up with their security there. Kind of in it weird, if you ask me. And that was around the time that they were starting to look into him, right? So all these guys are starting to do this stuff. Like, oh no, maybe I'm going to get caught up into something here. Let's leave. So
do presidents get protection all their life, even when out of power? Because that's what he just implied. I don't know if that's true.
A lot of these people trying to leave now. Yet Beyonce and Jay-Z both listed in these, we're talking emails. And Beyonce's got a different approach, apparently. She's just going to avoid the red states, which, I mean, honestly, that probably would work, considering how the blue states work in some cases, like in Minneapolis, like in Minnesota, like in California. If she just hops from Minnesota to California, she'll probably be completely fine. They're like 100% against their president. You know, Waltz is not working with their president hardly at all, with these criminals trying to, with ICE and all that. So she's probably actually got a decent strategy there. It might work out until they actually fall, right? Because it's becoming sort of almost like a civil war-ish atmosphere, blue versus red, and it's very antagonistic against each other. We've seen it with Don Lemon of recent, going into a church which is violates freedom of religion, claiming to be a journalist while harassing people. He ended up getting arrested, but then he was let out later. He claims to be a Christian. By the way, Hillary just came out and said she was a Christian as well, by the way. Oh my goodness. Really? I mean, do you guys actually believe this stuff? You think Hillary and Don here are Christians? Yeah. I don't believe it, really. For some strange reason, I don't believe it. Yeah, so of course, the Hillmeister also, remember back in, what was it, 10 years ago? I covered this over my secondary channel, God Wills 2. Week before the invasion into Iraq, we had some emails about Gilgamesh. Remember that whole thing? We talked about it way back when, over a decade ago. Here we have Candace Owens talking about it. Nimrod, I believe, is Gilgamesh. We talked about that before as well. I talked about how Genesis Apocryphon.
We've seen this one. Sorry, guys.
The Epic of Gilgamesh talk about how he was seeking eternal life or to gain back his youth. In the Genesis Apocryphon from the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says he went directly to Noah, asking, how did he get eternal life from the highest God? Right? Noah told him. But Gilgamesh or Nimrod did not like the answer. Didn't like what he had to do to get what he wanted. So he went and fought against the highest God, built the Tower of Babel, and we already know what happened there. It didn't succeed, did it? And I remember reading, I think my researcher told me about this. One of the apocryphal texts talks about there being some sort of gate on the Tower of Babel. So it was actually a portal, dimensional portal, I believe is what was going on there. It wasn't like literally they thought they could build a tower to heaven, but rather it was, in a sense, like a portal. And it makes sense if you think about the high places in the Old Testament. They would always talk about these mountains having portals to other dimensions. You saw with the book of Enoch how the Watchers came down on Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon being a portal to the other dimensions. And so perhaps the Tower of Babel was built the same way, sort of a high place. They put a portal on it, kind of like this TV show Stargate or something. And that's...
We already saw that, guys.
Texas, British Columbia, Louisiana, and here we go. Here it is.
The way that this cold feels
this year. It's been different.
All right, so my daughter told me whenever we were just up at the ball field walking cash that there was this weird pink liquid on the snow. And I thought maybe a deer or something. I didn't know.
These videos were recorded by multiple eyewitnesses. No official confirmation has been released yet.
We're going to collect a little bit of this snow here. This is really weird because these are not ice crystals.
This is getting unusual. To investigate this further, we need to look deeper into these events. Unusual events and unexplained objects spotted across the United States.
I was literally about to go to sleep. I hope this doesn't scare anybody, right? But I'm getting a bunch of videos right now about people noticing these flashes of light inside of their homes.
There have been many reports across social media about these unexplained sightings, but the recent unusual activity you're about to see, I have no explanation for. People across the United States are reporting what appear to be these strange objects showing up during the snow, but also these strange sounds that an eyewitness heard in British Columbia when she walked past the snow. It made her think twice.
Okay. That's a story. They found red ice.
The heavens declare the glory of God.
Welcome to the program today. Manu Gonzalez here in the studio, and I have with us Dinesh D'Souza. And the question that we're going to discuss today is about the dragon's prophecy and connected with October 7th. Is it in the Bible? Is there a pattern there? Stick around and you'll see.
Psalm 19 tells us the heavens declare the glory of God. Introducing the 2026 Psalm 19 calendar, now with new, never-before-seen images from the Prophecy Watchers Observatory. Each month features a vivid glimpse into God's magnificent universe, paired with inspiring script.
Oh, I must admit, I like that shirt he's wearing on that link. I would wear that shirt, no worries.
Lift your spirit all year long. Order your copies today and share the beauty of God's amazing universe.
Welcome back. We are here with Dinesh. And Dinesh, it is great to have you. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
You have done a major work with this film, The Dragon's Prophecy. I have it right here with me. And I've watched it, of course, and phenomenal work. Footage that has not been seen anywhere else, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe give us the background about why and how you came across and wanted to do the film.
The film is a bit of a departure for me. My earlier films have been mainly about American society, American history, the meaning of America. This is a film that is not only October 7th, but covers Israel, Gaza, the Palestinians, radical Islam. It leans back to the ancient battles in the Bible between the Israelites and some of their classic enemies, notably the Philistines. It has a dose of biblical archaeology that validates the Bible historically, archaeologically, and it also has a hint of biblical prophecy. The film is based on a book by Jonathan Cahn of the same title, Dragon's Prophecy, but the film goes beyond the book, particularly with the archaeological material. I think
we can do a Jonathan Cahn video tomorrow. I think I might. Tomorrow will be about Jonathan Cahn, guys. He's brought out some new stuff in the last 12 months.
that Khan relies heavily on a Christian audience that accepts the Bible. I'm putting the film out there. I want the film to be seen in Israel. I want it to be seen by Jews, Christians, maybe some secular people. And so the archaeological section in there is aimed at validating the Bible and showing that the Bible is based upon real people and real events.
You know, that's very important, especially for our audience. And we talk a lot about prophecy. But of course, my background, I have background in archaeology, biblical archaeology. And so bringing that to the table, when you think about the validation of scripture, you have prophecy and you have archaeology. Those are, to me, in my world as well, that's why I really loved the film, because it goes hand in hand. And for those that might not understand even the title Dragon's Prophecy, talk about that, because I think super important, lays the foundation for, again, even what Jonathan Kahn wrote about, and then how you develop it in the film.
The dragon's prophecy refers to a passage in the book of Revelation where a dragon representing the devil goes to war against a woman representing Israel, and the woman is pregnant representing the Messiah. So,
okay, the Catholics say that the woman is Jesus, and
this is the theme of our film, which is the
they say the woman's Mary and the child's the Catholic Church. That's what they say.
The world behind the world, and that the events in front of us, important
That's my train of thought, then.
Are also a reflection and a reverberation of a great cosmic battle that began at the beginning of time itself, between God and the evil one, God and the devil. And that we can use that framework to better understand even things that seem to be purely secular. So take, for example, anti-Semitism. I've been on some Israeli podcasts. I'll talk to secular Jews, and I'll say, "Why do you think?"
Maybe you're a rascal, mate. You're a real rascal.
You have anti-Semitism through all the centuries. What is the explanation for it? And many of them will say, "Beats me. We don't know. We're puzzled. Well, why does everybody hate us?" Now, you can give anti-Semitism a secular explanation to some degree. It's rooted in envy. The Jews are a very successful group, and so on. But it doesn't seem to do it full justice. What the film does is it basically says, look, there is a deeper explanation. The devil hates God. The devil cannot overthrow God. So the devil will pick on the things that God cares about. Like, why do you think the devil picked on Adam and Eve? They didn't do anything to the devil, but Adam and Eve were the cherished creation of God. So the devil gets back at God by ruining Adam and Eve. And for the same reason and by the same logic, the devil goes, guess what? God has a chosen people. They're the Jews. How about if I go after them, run them out of their country, humiliate them, destroy them, kill them, burn them? And so here are these.
Okay, the snake that showed up to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, I don't think he was a normal snake. I think I've read where he's a seraphim or something like that, or a cherubim, because you can't have a talking snake.
Semitism takes on a deeper spiritual explanation.
You can if you're God, though, I suppose.
And I found even secular people listen to that go, wow, that's really interesting because we never thought of it that way.
You know, you spend certainly some time in the film bringing in, again, as I mentioned earlier, some footage, some before seen footage of October 7th. Talk about.
Well, we don't really know what the thing was that spoke to Adam and Eve. It says Satan. I don't know what it really says there thinking about it.
The power of October.
But I've read where big angels stand at the entrance to bar people getting through. I have read that.
October 7th. What happened there and how it really contributes to the overall Dragon's Prophecy.
Right after October 7th, I was seeing some of this footage of the Hamas guys riding over the fences, driving into the kibbutzes, massacring people. And I realized this is very interesting because as a filmmaker, I have to say, normally I'm used to seeing events from the victim's point of view. But I realized I was looking at footage October 7th from the point of view of the attackers. They're the ones who did the filming. They're the ones in some cases who live streamed it. And so I realized that this film needs to begin with about 10 minutes of putting you on the scene of October 7th. And I was very fortunate in some ways. I was interviewing a young woman, Lisha.
How do you get to watch this video, I wonder? Hope he says.
Iran in a kibbutz called Nahal Oz, right on the Gaza border. And she was describing, these Hamas monsters flying through my window, and my husband and I took our 2 children and we ran into the safe room, and I was holding my baby. And I realized after my conversation with her that I had the exact footage of those events. I had the Hamas guys coming through the window. I had footage of her in her safe room, clinging to her baby. So I could literally put you there on the scene at the time. And from a filmmaker's point of view, this is really very powerful. I think it sets up our film in a really good way. And the film begins very gritty, very much on the ground, but then it goes.
And you know the name of the enterprise that went into Israel like that? The Iranians, I think, called it. It was called the Flood. The operation to do that hostage thing was called the Flood, and that goes along with Revelation 12.
To the most cosmic events, parallels between, let's say, the battles between Israel and Hamas, and battles between the ancient Israelites and the Philistines. So the scope of the film is very large.
Do you have any thoughts on why the world, as you mentioned, has kind of a double standard where this stuff that's publicly available, why isn't the media showing the behind the scenes from the perpetrators, but they'll show you again a child in Gaza? Why not show all of them? What do you think's going on there?
Again, I think there's a secular and a spiritual explanation. The secular explanation is just this, that the left, the political left, the cultural left globally, has accepted the idea, a wrong-headed idea, but they've accepted it nonetheless. Israel is the bad guy and the Palestinians are the good guy. Israel is the colonizer and they are the colonized. Therefore, the suffering of the Palestinians takes precedence. Because these are the true victims. We should feel sorry for them. And that's what drives discovery.
Israel was the Jewish homeland from the time of the Bible. So they're not the interlopers here, the Palestinians are. Palestine means Philistine. And they reckon wherever they get trouble in the Middle East, it's where, I think it's Joseph, let one of the giants escape or didn't wipe them out. And everywhere that happened, now Israel's getting drama from it.
So, for example, October 7th is seen by some of these same people as like, well, that was just an uprising of the colonized people who couldn't take it anymore. So that's how they see October 7th. So they're not sympathetic to Israel. They're basically saying that these poor Palestinians have been oppressed for so many decades that they finally had enough and they erupted. And yeah, maybe they shouldn't have done what they did, but it's an understandable reaction to Israeli aggression. That's how they see it. So this explains that.
What, to put babies in the microwave? That's, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Standard from a secular point of view. From a spiritual point of view, it basically is one more, I would call it, signpost of the last era or the last days. And by signposts, I mean, I don't in this film get into the nitty-gritty of biblical prophecy. I don't try to settle the issues between, let's say, the premillennials and the postmillennialists. But what I do is I say, all right, let's look for some large biblical signposts. One of them, of course, is the return of the Jews to their ancient homeland. That's predicted repeatedly in the Bible. It was a very implausible prediction for many, many centuries. It didn't seem like it could come true, and yet it did come true in the last century. But another signpost is the rising temperature of hatred, not only for the Jews, but also for the Christians. The Christians are, of course, engrafted onto the Jewish tree, as the Bible says. And so in the last age, we expect to see a increasing violence, increasing persecution, increasing targeting of both the Jewish people and the Christians. And that is, in fact, what we do see.
It's hard to deny that we are at the end of the age, especially, Israel's, 78 years ago now in the land. And of course, all the progressions of the different wars and the hatred continuing and getting worse and worse. So we're going to take a little break here where you can see how to get our magazine, which keeps you up to date on all the things that we're discussing about the end of the age. So take a listen.
At Prophecy Watchers, we believe that God has called us to be a voice in these last days, to warn you of things to come, to educate you on the study of Bible prophecy, and to boldly proclaim the soon return of Jesus.
Is that Tom Horn? Is that his son's wife? I think it is.
For your gift of just $50 or more, here's what we'd love to send you. 12 monthly issues of our 4-color magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, in your choice of print or digital. Plus, 5 bonus DVDs packed with eye-opening teachings from prophecy experts, including The Mystery of the Rapture, The Great Apostasy, and The Revealing of the Antichrist.
Hey, Bo, I just started watching a series, Highlander. I love the movie, and the series is turning out well too. I think it's on Netflix. I'm not sure.
Holy Fire in Jerusalem. New, shocking discoveries surrounding the Shroud of Turin. The stones cry out. The archaeological evidence for Jesus. The mystery of the 10 kings. Could these be the wealthy and influential oligarchs who control our world today? As an added bonus, we want to send you a one-of-a-kind prophetic treasure, a book that examines every prophecy in the entire Bible. Exploring Bible prophecy from Genesis to Revelation is the work of 2 prophecy legends, Tim LaHaye and Ed Heinsohn. It's a book you'll find on the shelf of every prophecy expert. This 560-page masterpiece is our bonus gift to you.
That wasn't his wife. Okay. His wife looks similar, like she's very homely, like very, very healthy looking, if you know what I mean. She looks like Tom Horn Jr.'s wife. I don't know what his real name is.
$120 value can be yours for your gift
Connor
of $50
McLeod
with shipping included
and Sean McConnery
in the USA. Call us at the number on your screen or visit us online at prophecywatchers.tv. For our international friends, please note that additional shipping fees do apply and all prices listed are in US dollars. The signs are everywhere. The prophetic puzzle is almost complete, and yet, so
We are with Dinesh D'Souza about his film, The Dragon's Prophecy. And Dinesh, in the beginning, you mentioned that Jonathan Kahn had a very large part of inspiring your film. So maybe talk about that and his book and how the book connects and maybe doesn't connect, or how you developed it from the book itself.
The book, when I read it, had a blazing insight that jumped out at me. And Jonathan Kahn said, we're seeing this battle between
There can only be one. Is that right, Bobo? There can only be one.
Jews and the Palestinians. He goes, it is an eerie replay of ancient battles between the Israelites and the Philistines. Now, more than that, the tactics of oppression and the aftermath are very closely similar to the Palestinians. We can
I like Thailander, Bobo. That's how come you.
See this through the biblical example of Samson, who represents the strength of Israel. Samson is captured by who? Well, the Philistines. And where do they take him? To Gaza. Gaza's named in the Bible. And they blind him with...
Wow, put it on real sites. So Samson was taken to Gaza. To put it like that, that's really making it real, isn't it, guys?
Is in a way very similar to the way that Hamas and the terrorists blinded Israel. Not just metaphorically, they actually.
And the Middle East, it had bears and lions until the Romans went and got all the animals for their arenas, their circuses. But it had lions in it because David killed a lion. So it must have come from Israel.
He shot down a lot of the surveillance sites that the Israelis would be able to see them coming. They blinded Israel in that literal sense. And then it says in the Bible, the people of Gaza...
Oh, no way, Talia.
And
Stargate's one of my favorite series. You know I believe all that technology exists.
Traded so that he could, quote, entertain us. Sure enough, right after October 7, captives were stripped, at least to the waist. They were paraded. People were cheering, Allahu Akbar, celebrating, handing out sweets. And so what you have here is an echo that I had not heard until I read Jonathan Cahn's book, and I'm like, wow, these parallels are they're multiple.
No, I watched Jack Reacher 1 with Tom Cruise, and I got to admit, he pulled it off. I don't like Tom Cruise as an actor, but he pulled that off.
And they're deep. And so what Kahn is basically saying is that as it was in the beginning, or as it was in ancient times, we're beginning to see some of those same things happen again. And we should really ponder them to see if we are witnessing not just the playing out of history, but the playing out of a biblical script that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So all of that I found very intellectually exciting. And I realized that it could be the basis for a really good film.
To me, it's fascinating where you go back a couple hundred years ago, and there's no Israel.
Stargate's my favorite series, actually.
The land.
That's like Star Trek. Star Trek's based on true technology. That'll spin Bobo out, but we know it's true, guys.
And so you have all these prophetic history and prophetic things going in the future. But once Israel became back in the land, it's like we were transported, to me, back before 70 AD, or even in the Old Testament, where you have a real Israel, the real descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the land. And you're looking around and you're saying, well, oh, wow, how is God interacting with his people back in the land? They're back in the land for a purpose, as we know, as we're pushing into the age. But to me, to see the parallels, I try to tell people, we're living in biblical times, people. This is what we're doing. And so I think the film does a great job of showing those. I like the word the echo, the parallels there.
Well, it's not insignificant that the greatest discovery in.
I reckon at the most we're here till 2032, and that's judging by Tom Horn's Apophis. Apart from that, we're near the end anyway. I can't see us going much longer than that. All the biblical signs are pointing to a lot of things happening before then, and we're seeing them play out now. He's right.
Biblical archaeology, which is the Dead Sea Scrolls. Important because prior to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest manuscript of the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, was from about 1000 AD. And the Dead Sea Scrolls came along, and you had manuscripts, including biblical manuscripts, from like the 3rd century to the 1st century BC. But what the Dead Sea Scrolls showed is that the book of Isaiah, for example, the script from 300 BC and the so-called Masoretic script from 1000 AD, which was the earliest copy we had before that, matched almost one-to-one. There were tiny discrepancies, but they not discrepancies in meaning, only discrepancies of a letter here or a word that was inflected slightly differently there. Now, my point is this, that the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, 1947. The formation of the State of Israel, 1948. It's almost as if the validation...
Yeah, it does sound like that. The Dead Sea Scrolls with a stamp on top of Israel.
Of the Hebrew scriptures and the founding of the State of Israel are hand in hand.
In one sense, I'm curious. You have, of course, the prophetic things with, the October 7th. Why? What led you to include the archaeology in there? And then, in that case, maybe share with the audience a couple of the items that you did.
Great question. I like this guy's questions.
For many centuries, you have important figures in the Bible that Christians and earlier Jews took on faith. So take a figure like King David or Isaiah, Jeremiah, even figures from the New Testament, Pontius Pilate, the high priest named Caiaphas. So these figures existed in the Bible, but for the most part, they were only in the Bible. There was no non-biblical support for them. Now, Pontius Pilate, a couple of historians refer to him, but even those historical accounts have some problems with them. So you couldn't say for sure. You didn't have, you could say, historical or archaeological support until
Okay, I was under the impression they found a monument to Pilate. So, yeah, they found like when they put a stone in the crossroads and say go this way. Well, they done that with Pilate's name or something like that. So he has been discovered in true archaeology. This guy doesn't know a lot of things. I'm surprised how much he doesn't know.
Recently, and by recently I mean the last few decades. And so suddenly these figures of the Bible are validated. You have a clay seal that comes out of the ground that has, Isaiah's name on it. You find the ruins of David's palace. You find inscriptions that say the house of David. And if there was a house of David, there was obviously a David. And then you find the bones of the high priest Caiaphas in a ossuary or casket that has his name on it. By the way, a lot of this I didn't know until just the last few years.
Okay, he's right about all that.
Because when I started making trips to Israel, I said, wow, why isn't this being screamed from the rooftops of every synagogue and every church? When a pastor talks about Jeremiah, why doesn't he play a 5-minute video before that where he talks about the validation of Jeremiah through archaeological discovery? I guess pastors in general don't maybe know this material or they're uncomfortable talking about it, but I thought, wow, this is so fascinating. I want to actually write about it, and I'm currently working on a book that deals with these topics for Charisma Books. But I also said, look, I'm gonna put at least a taste of this into the film to let even the most hardened skeptic realize that guess what? You can disagree about the miracles of the Bible or disbelieve the resurrection if you want, but I'm going to show you why you should take seriously the historicity of the Bible.
Yeah, to me, it's
yeah.
one of the reasons why I went into archaeology, because I was so fascinated with the background of Scripture and, again, the reliability of the text. We do walk by faith, but God doesn't have us walk by some invisible, unverifiable faith. It's founded on truth and fact. One of the things you bring up in the film too, which I think is important, is just talk about the land of Israel itself, the ancestral homeland. Why is it such an important thing today? And why is it just continually the land? I mean, that's all the fighting in the UN, etc. Talk about that.
Israel is positioned in what is now hostile territory. It is essentially the, you could say, home base of Islam, and as it turns out, also of radical Islam. And Israel is seen as the little Satan, America being the great Satan. And so there are political reasons why Israel is targeted. In some ways, Israel is a surrogate for the West and for the United States. From a spiritual point of view, I think the Bible makes it really clear that even though God gives the land to Abraham and his descendants, they will never sort of live in that land undisturbed, unmolested. And through the centuries, the Israelites were tormented by the Assyrians, by the Babylonians. They were always fighting the Moabites and the Philistines. And even now, they finally come back, they get their land, and they finally, breathe a sigh of relief and live in peace. No, they cannot. They're surrounded by hostile enemies. And I think the Bible says that, look, you can have a peace plan, you can exchange hostages, you can make things better. But ultimately, can you solve that problem once and for all? No, you cannot. It will not be solved until the end of time. And so if you believe the Bible, you're not going to get ultimate resolution until the curtain comes down. I believe that. And so I think that is the spiritual explanation that doesn't displace the kind of secular explanation I gave a few moments ago. The two should be taken hand in hand. The two supplement each other.
This film, I just want to encourage everybody, this is like a must-see film in understanding not only the background there, but again, as Renee said, the echoes of what we see historically as well as prophetically. And again, the archaeological value to it is phenomenal. We're going to take a little break here where you can see how to get Dinesh's film. So take a listen.
October 7th is a day that will live in infamy. It was early morning when the news broke at our prophecy conference in Norman, Oklahoma. Tragedy had
I'll do this one and I'm over, guys.
Right now, we have with us a couple of guests that I am most pleased to introduce to you. To my left here is Bill Koenig. Bill has been a White House correspondent. He has been a correspondent, in fact, in a number of different places. Very, very well educated when it comes to what's going on in the world today. And by the way, he is a serious worshiper of the Lord Jesus Christ. He's a great Christian. And Bill, welcome back to Prophecy.
Diane, Tony's, as you know, Tony's making a Christian computer game. I wonder how he's going to do that.
You watch it.
Thank you, Gary.
Now, to your
He keeps asking for $400 investments.
left, and I'm going to let you introduce her. You have a very interesting.
Which, if you got a decent plot going and put it to video games, it'd be a better game than Superman, wouldn't it?
Yes.
My wife Tanya is with us today, and it's an absolute blessing to work with Tony. Tony and I write
Video on YouTube and seen his tsunamis. The power of them are fascinating. The way they can wipe out whole Japanese cities. The power, it just amazes me.
Lord Jesus, church planted in Portugal, in the Netherlands, and Africa, and around the world, but also was very involved politically in the Netherlands, where she spent 32 years in Rotterdam. And Tanya's insight is so incredible, because I think the Spirit of God uses Tanya in a way to bring prophecy and understanding to a level, to be quite honest, I've never quite seen like this. And our readers absolutely love it. It's a prayer and Spirit-led introduction to what's taking place right now, with her very fascinating background of loving the Lord Jesus, but at the same time being very involved politically in Rotterdam. She did field trips with or trade missions with Mark Rutte, who is now the Secretary General of NATO, and was very involved in the political system throughout the Netherlands. Even had the opportunity to meet Vladimir Putin on one of the trade missions to Russia with Prime Minister Rutte. So, Tanya, your perspective is such a blessing, and every week our readers are just totally in love with your insight.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Gary, for having us. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's my husband, so he has all the good words. Thank you.
Well, you're incredible, Tanya, and I think we're living in such important times prophetically.
Amen.
And what I love about what Tanya really emphasizes is praying, and praying for President Trump. President Trump is in a very important, influential, biblically significant time right now.
Oh my!
And yes, I'd like to ask Tanya a question. Just your opinion, based upon your experience, what in the world is really one of the most important things that we should be watching as Christians right now? You've been around, you've been in various places, you speak to important people, you watch. What should we be watching?
I think we should be watching America. And of course, we watch Israel, it's the clock time of the Lord. But America has an important role as never before. I remember when I went to Europe as a missionary. I was sent out after studying theology for 5 years and work in my home church and planting churches in Brazil. They sent me to Europe, and I started there. And what I saw in the 80s, that was in the 80s, there was no church in Portugal, evangelical church. it was the evangelicals were persecuted. And then they sent me to Belgium to work in a church there and to open a church. And I started to work also with people working on the streets. And then I came to the Netherlands. And I saw in the Netherlands there was like a persecution. There was a persecution that nobody knew where that did come from, and they had a hatred for Americans. They hate Americans in that time. I'm talking about 89, 88, in the beginnings of the 90s. That were when President Reagan was in power. And there was even advertisement on television against Americans. And I have seen the same pattern now at this moment, and where Europe is growing cold. And in that time, in the 90s, we could not say Jesus loves you to a person. They would become very mad at you and not talk to you. And I lost even friends because of that. So you have to do a work of evangelism under the cover. You have to be very careful what you say, and it was a prayer life, actually.
Now, I have to interrupt because I'm an American. That's what I am.
Yeah.
For a long time. Why don't I hear about this? I'm hearing it from you just now, and this is very important.
It is very interesting what I just got from a friend of mine who is a pastor in the Netherlands 2 weeks ago. He was taken to jail because he was preaching the gospel. I mean, a church about 200 members, which is a big church in the Netherlands considered. He was preaching on the streets, and the police came and they took him to jail. So that's what is going on in the Netherlands and in Germany as well. In Germany, we have seen also another pastor there that was beaten even. And so, coming back to your question, the way that America goes, so goes the world.
Yeah.
And that's so who preached the gospel to the world? Americans. Why am I here talking about Jesus? Because I had the privilege to meet Americans that gave their lives, gave their everything, gave up everything in their lives to go to Brazil and to be missionaries. That's why I can say, hey, I am now saved and I am bought by the blood of Jesus. And so the way that America goes, so goes the world. And we have now a president. And many people can say a lot about him, but he is doing things that I don't want to go back to another place that I'm going to be persecuted, like I have been persecuted in Brazil.
When I'm hearing that in Europe right now, there are some uprisings from Islam. And, you know, this comes to our news rather belatedly. In other words, we should have heard
It's 2 days old, guys.
about this a long time ago, and we're Natalie just now hearing about it.
I heard an American girl, a British girl today. I think Mr. President Trump, he put it in his social truths. He posted that. And she was saying that she came from Britain, from the UK to America to run away from the Muslims. I remember when I was in the Netherlands in the beginning of the 90s, I could not go with my little girl play at the playground because it was full of Muslims, full of Turkish, full of Moroccans, speaking in their languages, and they would not integrate in the society. So what I saw in Europe, and what I'm
Muslims come up here for public holidays and that, and on public holidays, my brother goes to site where there's a caravan and a lake and all that, and the Muslims show up and they're really noisy and they completely leave a mess everywhere and just hop in their cars and go home and leave all the crap everywhere, where Aussies will clean up their mess before they take off and go home, but Muslims don't. They just shit in their own backyard.
Starting to see here, and I have written a lot about this, is that Islam came very, very slow in Europe. They multiply, the Muslims, they multiply, they breed, and suddenly they Sharia law.
Talia, do you mean a New Jerusalem? Because we're not.
In the counties, in the cities, and everything changed. And our girls start to be afraid because they can really get dangerous. So the girls can be, they don't have the freedom to go everywhere. They have not the freedom to dress like they want to.
But a lot of countries, not the natives of the country, they're all rising up. Like France, they're rising up. Iran, they're rising up. Australia was rising up, but we shut them down.
Because those...
But you're right, it's all over the world.
Teenagers, the young people, start to persecute them and start to try to get them to convert to Islam and to dress like they dress. And so what I see is, and I call them always the Muslims, Islam in suits, and exactly what we have seen now in New York with Mondani. Exactly. They come slowly and then they become legislators, and then they are mayor. The mayor of Rotterdam was from Morocco, and for many years, a Muslim. And that is all.
How do you become the mayor of an English city when you're from Morocco? That's just bastardizing your nation.
All over Europe, and they cannot stop it anymore. They have taken over. And what I see now with President Trump is that he's trying to stop this before it's too late for America.
So our president has a vision of what's going on there. In other words, he knows about these things. And in your opinion, do you think that he knows enough about these things?
I think he does. I think he cannot pay attention to everything. And I think sometimes he has to play naive. And he cannot sort out all the problems in the world. But I think today I saw very clear that he is not only emphasizing and addressing the fundamentalism in Islam, but also the Islam that is taking over in America. He's very much aware of that, and I think it's a blessing.
Well, Bill, as she's talking, I'm thinking. Now I've got a little bit clearer idea of what I should be praying for.
Tony made a good point. I think President Trump does get it. He's even banned the Muslim Brotherhood in America.
Yeah.
And that's very significant. I mean, that is very bold. And he did that because he understands the problem. And like Tanya used that example today.
I'm thinking Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Well,
Minneapolis shows that very influence.
Very good example. Very good example. I mean, they're taking the Somali situation in Minneapolis on straight on.
No matter what you think of Trump, he does get some things done. He gets a lot of things done, actually.
And they're going to get to the bottom of that. And they've seen in Texas, Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick have stood up and said this city called Epic, north of Plano, which is 400 or 500 acres, I think, at this time, is not going to go Sharia law. It's going to be under the laws of the United States and the state of Texas. And what happens is you get a critical mass. If you get, and I saw this in one of the smaller cities outside of Houston, you get to the critical mass of about 15% of the population, and then you move into the legislature, then you move into the city council, then you move into positions of influence. And
this is not accidental.
No, this is happening. No, it's Texas got that problem. I mean, when I lived in Northern Virginia,
There's a significant amount of Muslims in Maryland and Virginia, and there's also a lot of great Muslims. We have Muslim friends. It's those practicing radical Islam that are, but there are a lot of wonderful Muslim people.
You say radical Islam. Describe radical Islam for those who may not know what it is.
Well, I think what we saw terrorism. That's part of it. The belief that if you kill these infidels, Jews or Christians, that there's a special place for you in heaven.
What I have seen in Rotterdam, where I lived for 34 years, I had Muslims neighbors, and I had people working for me who were Muslims, very nice people. But in the beginning of the 90s, I saw a change in their thinking. I saw
See, Talia, we think different. No matter what, Trump has got some good things done. A lot of good things. He's done it. He's done it. You can't deny that. I know his snake parable. I've seen his Baal temple. So I know his roots, but you can't deny he's done a lot.
There was a professor, a very intelligent professor from Morocco, and he taught at the university in the Netherlands, Islam University, and suddenly he became radical, very radical. So what I noticed, and I don't think there is the extreme Islam, but I think everyone carries that ideology that is in the Quran. And what I noticed is that some nice people, some nice mothers. I had a wonderful lady that worked for me for 15 years. Wonderful, an amazing person. But I saw her children growing in the ghettos of Rotterdam, because that's the way it starts, like in Paris.
I'll tell you what a lot of people are starting to say on the net. Jared Kushner's the Antichrist. Yeah, I don't know why they say that, but they do.
They separate.
He done something about the temple that the head said something God would be very mad at. So I should have watched it.
To them, like the Somalians in Minneapolis, the same thing. They separated them. So what I saw was that those kids that were so nice, they became pro-Gaza and militants. Yeah, militants, but not really militants in a way that you can see it.
Phil, he's got to get rid of Kevin Copeland and Paula White. They've all prayed over him. He's got to get away from that type, or he's a pretender.
Clearly, but undercover is
subtle.
Very, very subtle.
In other words, they believe from the heart. They believe deeply. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, they do. I think it's the ideology to take over the world.
Well, let me just pose a question to you. Now, I'm a Christian. You're a Christian. And I take my Christianity very seriously. And I can go back over my life from when I was a teenager and sort of trace in my memory how my Christianity has developed, and it's gotten stronger over the years.
100%.
What should Christians be doing to strengthen their Christianity? Because it's not an easy thing to go from being...
Read the Bible, that's why it's there.
Just a surface Christian to being very deep in your beliefs. And based on what you're saying, we need deep-seated believers right now to stand up for the Lord.
Yeah, I think we go back to our roots, the Bible, the word of the Lord, what the Lord Jesus commanded us in to go and preach the gospel and to have a relationship with him through his blood, to a relationship with the Father. I had the privilege to work also with Muslims in Vietnam and evangelizing them. So we, in the 90s, Prime Minister Koch from the left, he allowed all the people from Sudan to come into the land, to the Netherlands, to Europe. So there was this prince of.
Tally, I thought it was like something like that. I thought it might have been something to do with the third temple, because there's been a bit of traffic about that. Apparently they tried to build it and the wall caved in on them. I don't know how true that is, but that's what it said.
Sudan, Jubril.
I love her accent.
That Prime Minister Koch, he invited him to come. And he was persecuted in Sudan because he had, Jesus had appeared to him. His father had been killed, his mother had been killed, and Jesus appeared to him. And
good night, Phil. God bless.
And so he became a Christian, and he came. I invited him. There was a television in the Netherlands that the owner was a very good friend, Dolf van der Vechten, and we invited him and we started to work in Rotterdam only with the Muslim, going to schools, going everywhere. There was a lot of persecution, but there were many Muslims that came to Jesus as well. So I think we have to be praying for the Muslims, for the Lord. As a Christian, you have to be offensive and not defensive, because the Islam is offensive. They wanted to gain territory.
They have a plan.
They have a plan. They have a strategy, and I think Jesus gave us the strategy: go into the world and preach the gospel. And that's what we have to be doing. And if we cannot go, and we have to pray. We can, with our prayers, we can move mountains. We can move nations. We can move governments, because the prayers is effective. And our weapons is not so powerful that we can cast down strongholds, Romans says, Apostle Paul says. And that's what we are doing. We have to do to cast down these strongholds in the name of Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm thinking, what a challenge.
Bill, I think also, Gary, something important too is don't debate this one. Stay on the gospel. Stay in the gospel. They'll want to debate, they'll want to talk about this or that, but just stay on the gospel, stay on the cross, stay on the blood of Yeshua, blood of Jesus.
Yeah, I studied the Quran. I have to. So I did it when I studied theology, and that was my essay, was to write. That was in '83. I wrote about Islam and how it used to go all over the world, because that's what they wanted. So I always use the Surah of Miriam. Why? Because in the Surah of Miriam, it speaks about Jesus, about Isa, that Miriam had this son, and that he healed the lamb, the blind could see, and he's alive and he's coming back. So I always get, well, that's my strategy.
Wow, that's in the Surahs. I never knew that.
The Holy Spirit gave me. So we have something in common in the Quran and in the Bible, because I believe Jesus is alive, he healed, and he still heals, and he's coming back. And what I noticed when I was evangelized, I was in Barcelona in 2017, and suddenly these people from Pakistan, they got me and they wanted me to pray for the sick. And I said, but you guys are Muslims. How? But we heard from our brother who became a Christian through you. And we want you to pray for the sick and pray for this and pray for this, because we believe that Jesus heals.
Wow. You know, sitting here, Bill, I want you to comment on this. my mind is doing a slow turn from where it was before, because when we think of Islam, we think of the wars in the Middle East. We think of various countries, Pakistan and Turkey. We think of Syria and Iraq, Iran, and that to us is Islam. Islam is armies poised to take out Israel. But we don't think of Islam as a group of people bent on converting others to their belief system.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting in the Middle East now is where Jesus is appearing to Muslims and Jews.
Really?
In dreams and visions.
Wow.
And it's, I'd say, the last 5 or 10 years, it is growing exponentially, Gary, where this is happening.
So we know what to pray for.
Exactly. That there will be more and more of that. Yeah. Because we have a friend in Israel, well, their church, Mount Carmel Assembly, that David Wilk.
Baby, you know what my mum said? She said when they do suicide bombers, you should put a pig's head in their grave. That'd be a really great insult. And she's right. They'd howl if you done that.
Person started. I mean, this is incredible to go to that church.
Yeah.
My mum can have a wicked mind, guys.
To see the Jews and the Christians and the Arabs worshiping together Yeshua, and it's powerful. And some of the Muslims that have become believers in Yeshua are on fire for the Lord. So they're
the Catholics created Islam, Andrew. That's why they both worship Mary so much.
Well, we need to continue to
And
pray
this
for
is very remarkable because every time a Muslim comes to Jesus and he's really born again, he gets a love for Israel. Because when the Spirit of God dwells in you, the first thing the Father, he longs for Israel. He longs for his wife, Jerusalem. So, and that's very, it's amazing, very remarkable.
Well, God's heart is in Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
The whole Bible shows that.
Yes.
Including prophecy.
Absolutely.
Our Lord is going to descend from heaven and touch his foot down on the Mount of Olives.
Yes.
And I mean, why did he choose the Mount of Olives?
Yeah, exactly. And also a love for the Jewish people. We've seen this where the Arabs that have come to know Yeshua.
Di, check that out. Bobo's read the play.
As an Lord and Savior, a love for the Jewish people. It's remarkable what is happening. And I think I've just met so many people in Israel, in the Middle East, that are Arab descent and that are very, very good people. Decent, when I say good people, decent people, very decent people. And they just need to know that Yeshua is their Messiah.
So Islam is thought, to Americans, I think, Islam is thought of as geographic. In other words, Islam is over in those countries over there, but it's not over here, and it's not in Europe. But suddenly you're telling us it is in Europe, and it is in South America, and it is in North America now.
Yes, it is in Frisco. It's in Texas, very close to us, and it in Plano. I was in Plano, a city in Texas. I was surprised how many Muslims are there. I mean, it's all over the place.
So they look at the United States as a place that they want to have a greater role, and they've been empowered by Mamdani becoming the mayor of New York City. And he's Shiite; he's not Sunni. 80% of the Muslims are Sunni. With Saudi Arabia is really the whole country.
And for those who don't know, what does that mean?
Well, it's Mecca and Medina. It's a different form of Islam through I guess the Muhammad.
It's like the Protestants versus the Catholics.
Is it more militant?
No, there's militants on both sides. The Shiite. What's interesting is Shiite and Sunnis don't get along very well. Saudi Arabia is more concerned about. They're concerned they'll be the first after Iran gets the nuke, not Israel. Some of the leadership.
Well, it's about theology.
Yeah, Yeah.
Like it's the Prophet Muhammad and his wife, and
Straight away, she takes it back to the Bible. Well done.
so we go to another direction here. If we go to talk about Islam theology,
Yeah, it's Islam theology, which is just broken
Yeah.
down. So the majority of it's 80% are Sunni, which is the Mecca, Medina, Saudi
Good
Arabia.
night, Di. Good night, Talia.
Shia Islam is really the capital would be Iran,
Night,
Iraq,
Andrew.
and Bahrain, but Iran's the headquarters.
yeah.
We have just a very few minutes, and I'd like to answer one question, because when you ask an American, and even if they're not Christian, do you think America is a Christian country?
Not
And they would
now.
say, oh yes, it is. I don't go to church, but I think America is a Christian country. But as we talk now, it appears that we're drifting away from being a quote unquote Christian country. And this is something that is not only a bit alarming, but it tells us how we should be praying.
I think for a revival of our Judeo-Christian
Okay, guys, I'm out. See you tomorrow.
values, and to pray for the new generation. I think they don't understand much about the Holy Spirit, about the Lord Jesus, and that's